Hi guys, Mr. Waffles here. This is everything I loved when I played the Edge of Fate expansion early at Bungy HQ. To be very clear, this video is going to be focusing on positives. It's things I loved. But I have separate content which talks about my critiques and the negatives. The reason I'm splitting it up this way is there is so much to cover. So I'm doing a big positives video, a big negatives video, and then I'll do like a sort of more condensed reviewy, impressions-y type situation. But they'll all be going up on my channel at the same time. So you can watch with the level of detail that suits you. There are also a few things to note here. Number one, you'll notice that Raid is sort of redacted in the corner here. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about that topic, so we're going to save that to the very end. Bungie's going to review this video before I post it, and if they tell me to cut out that stuff that I'm going to say, which is very minimal really, then I'll cut it, or it'll make it through. We'll see. But for everything else, we've got plenty to cover. So let's get started with everything I loved about the Edge of Fate, beginning with the portal. Now, this might be a little controversial because people love the director. And I love the director as well, but the portal is the new main menu screen, basically, for Destiny 2 that is going to funnel players into different activities. And there are things that I don't like about it, which, like I said, I'll cover in that other video, but there are some things about the portal that I think are really positive. To start with, the portal makes the game significantly more customizable to your specific either playstyle, interest, level of difficulty.
That's interesting. Hi. That's really fucking annoying. It like totally disabled my mic settings. Like they just weren't on. Whatever. Okay. Well, we're here now. This is good. I'm happy about this.
Any combination of the above than it's ever been before, as far as I've ever understood it, at least. Because you can queue into an activity, and if you're the sort of person that's like, I don't care about having a HUD, let me get slightly better rewards by taking my HUD away, then you can do that. And that goes for so much stuff in the game. Oh, I don't really care about fighting this particular enemy type. I don't really care about receiving this kind of elemental damage. Let me just crank it up and then get better rewards. This is something that I kind of wish was already in the game, because like right now, for example, let's say I'm just trying to sort of grind out some Pathfinders or something and I have to run a load of strikes or something like that. The strikes themselves are just boring. Like, I feel like I'm just like speedrunning and I'm like wasting my time. Whereas now, I'm not going to be wasting my time anymore because I can make them actually fit the difficulty that I'd like to be at. And that's...
Yeah, this is awesome. And here's the thing. This is great. If this allows us to basically guarantee us a way of getting higher tier stuff. So if I go do a strike, like he just said, using his example, if I go do a strike and I make it as hard as humanly possible and using the different things and run through it, and Am I allowed to run that same thing again to get more of that tier 5, tier 4 thing at that max difficulty? I don't know if they've talked about that, but I'd like that to be a thing.
A massive change, I think, for the game, and something that the portal has made possible. So that's something I really applaud. Now, I've also got new power curve here. We'll talk about that in a second, but first I want to talk about the understanding what to play section. So I think right now in Destiny, you've got people that will do like their weekly pinnacles and stuff like that. But outside of those sorts of things, sometimes it is a little unclear. Like, okay, I'm a new
The Quell is
player,
coming back. I
I'm
did
jumping
see
in this
that,
week.
yeah.
Like, where should I be putting my time? What should I be doing? And I think the portal is beginning to take some steps to answering that question for people. I don't think that it is a complete, universal, perfect panacea
Well, like
solution.
that's the thing too, right? Like a lot of stuff is coming back. What I like that they're making the like what they're showing here, like the solo op stuff. So like all of the what are they called in game? It's not like a dungeon, but it's like a mini stray. It's not even that. It's just like the destination fucking what are these called? What is this symbol called? Vex, help me out here. Like I don't do these anymore, so I don't even remember what the fuck they're called. What the fuck is this? Lost Sector, thank you. Like I want to be able to do this. Like come in here, be like, okay, I want to do this Lost Sector for this reward at this difficulty, so I get it that reward tier 5. Is that something I'm able to do just over and over, or am I capped so many tier 5s per week? Like what is stopping me, if anything?
Just yet, but it's a step in the right direction. And so what I want to kind of praise here is not the fact that I think it completely solves the problem of what you should be doing with your time in Destiny, but rather it helps simplify part of the equation. So it will be very obvious to you that you can play whatever you want. You can play your solo ops, that's your solo activities that last like 10 minutes, or you can play your fire team ops with a squad. You don't have to worry, oh, is this one going to be match made, or do I need to bring in a squad for this, or like, what if I have no friends? It's a little bit more served up to you as to what the circumstances are around.
Here's the thing. I like this. I really hope if I click on solo, I'm able to do, all right, I want to run solo this dungeon on this difficulty for a tier 5 armor piece, or multiple tier 5 armor pieces, or the tier 5 weapons from that dungeon. That needs to be a thing. I think they said the whole tier 5 stuff dropping won't be on anything older, which sucks, which means whatever new dungeon we're getting, I think in the Ash and Iron update, halfway at like after, I think it's 6 months after this launches, or is that the mid-season? It might be a mid-season update. Whatever dungeon we're getting at that point, I think should be in this, which would be cool. But
a given activity, and they literally all of the stuff in there all funnels you towards the same goal, the same end result, and that's basically leading to this new power curve that I've mentioned just here. So I also think that this is a positive almost in its own right. Like I could extract this from the portal, place it somewhere else on here, and it would be a completely valid section. So you know what, let's just do that. Ta-da! Power curve. Let's talk about it. So I don't know how many times in the past Destiny has brought our power back down, or crunched our power, or reset our power, or whatever, right? I'm newer to the game, but what I do know is that right now we're at what, like 2020 power cap or something, and then I think that with the seasonal artifact you can get above that, but it's not by a crazy meaningful amount. So let's say there's a lot of people right now at like 2030 power. For a new player looking at other people being at 2030 power and remember
the dungeon is on Renegades, fuck. So we're not getting a dungeon this year, basically. We're getting a dungeon next year not this year. Because Renegades drops in December, right? Or is that the reveal? I can't remember.
Also, if they're a returning player, when I played, I was at 500 power. That visually looks like a massive disparity. And it means that a lot of people are like, well, I can't play Destiny because I'm so far behind. I'll have to grind through years and years of content just to get up to power. And even though we know that that's not true, like you can literally just get the chest from the sort of social area in Right of the Nine and get yourself to 2020 and it's an easy catch up. The new players considering jumping into Destiny don't know that. And Bungie recognizes
My brother's like, who are you talking to? The stream.
that is a visual issue for new players, and so bringing us back down in power, that alone I think is a good move in my opinion. But the interesting thing is that the power curve is now split into your permanent power and your seasonal power. And there's things here that I don't like, and I'll talk about that in the other video, but what I like about the system as designed right now is the way it also interfaces with the armor rework, the guns rework, like everything that they're reworking in terms of core systems, because they really do all mesh together in quite a big way, and it's quite a grand vision for altering the way that people engage with Destiny season on season or expansion on expansion. So the idea is going to be that in the portal, you can just do any activity basically, and slowly but surely that is going to help you progress your power level. So your power is going to go up and up based on you doing stuff in the portal. Now, as you do that, a few things are going to happen also in the portal. Number one is that you're going to start seeing on the customize screen before you go into an activity that you're going to start unlocking higher difficulties. And the more difficulties you have active, or rather the higher difficulty that you select, the more modifiers or challenge modifiers you're going to be able to put onto a given run to make it more difficult. What that's going to do is it's going to mean that you'll be able to boost the rewards that you get, like I mentioned before, but the system that evaluates that is basically looking at the difficulty of the activity that you've selected and looking at your reward rank and then saying, okay, you've put on especially difficult settings, so your reward rank is going to be higher, and if you get a really good score when you then play that, then yeah, we're going to give you more rewards. Like you'll get 2 drops or 3 drops instead of just 1 drop, and those might be higher tier weapons, or they'll be your powerful drops that you need to progress. And then because you'll be more powerful, you'll be...
The chests are different. Did they do that on purpose? Or is that just something like a chest that they're throwing in here just because? Because like I know in each new update we get like chests based on like the destination or like the things that we're killing sort of thing.
Getting more difficulties so you can add more challenge, so you can get more drops, so you can get more power, etc, etc. You sort of see the flow here. So this sort of section of the board, and we'll talk more about the armor and the guns and stuff in a moment, but this section is really a cyclical, hopeful design that Bungie hopes people will enjoy engaging with. And the kind of extra juice that makes it all a bit more exciting is that as you do this and you start to get those higher tier weapons that we'll talk about in a minute, don't worry, you'll also
It's 30
find
outside.
that
I am
they
so sorry.
have a bonus for being used within the season that you get them in. Like when it's new gear, which has a specific marker, new gear, that is going to be moderately buffed relative to all of the old gear. And I suspect this will be controversial because some people will argue, oh, this is like a soft sunset, right? Where you've got old gear that's like 5% or 10% less good than some new thing that's come out that season. And there's an argument to be made there, and I'll explore that argument and that critique in my critique video. But for the purpose of this video, what I like about this system in theory is that it means that each season there is meaningful stuff for you to go for because you know that that season's weapons are gonna be good. You're not going to be just grinding for something from 5 years ago all the time, and then as soon as you've got it, you can like stop your gear grind. Similarly, right now in the game, the armor system has gotten pretty stale, right? Like most people auto scrap all the armor that they get because if you get a roll that's like a 47, why would you keep it? Like you don't care at all. Whereas in this new intention for this new system, you'd be going up this power curve, you'd be going through the power grind, getting to those higher difficulties, getting the higher tier rewards, and then at the end of the expansion and flipping into a new expansion, you'd have a new set of newly moderately buffed gear to go for. You'd also have your power brought back down, so you would keep your permanent power, which is up to 200, and then you would lose everything above that. And so you would then walk back up the power curve to get that high tier loot again. And so it means that there's a reason to play the following season, right? But you'll keep all of your tier 5 stuff from the original season if that's what you want to use. And it's not so big a difference that you absolutely have to use the new stuff. It's just like, yeah, okay, if I'm like trying to be optimal, right? Because I'm a hardcore player, then yeah, I'll do the optimal thing and I'll go for the high tier loot. But if I don't really care about being optimal, then the world's your oyster. You lose 5% or whatever, it's not a big deal. So it's an elaborate plan, and it's something that I suspect some people are not going to like, but I also suspect that some people are going to be like, you know what? I actually care about going through that grind for my weapons and my gear in the current season. And like, it's an opportunity to do something fun now. And then you've also got that combined with the fact that they've been leaning into the seasonal artifact recently and giving us new like elements to play with each season and stuff like that.
Yeah, this new artifact, by the way, is fucked. Like, this is going to be probably the most broken artifact they've given us in a long time, and we have no idea what this part is. Just this last column, these top two are going to be so fucking broken, it's not even funny.
So the season on season or expansion on expansion, it should feel like
it's the artifact is really pushing us towards solar. It's like you see some stuff in here for like stasis and shit, that's fine, but like this is really pushing us towards using solar arc and like a little bit of strand. But this is going to be a fucking crazy artifact.
A bit of a different flavor to those grinds, because one of the grinds you're going to be prioritizing your frost and your...
I do hope, I doubt this is something that like any of the YouTubers have talked about with them. I do hope that we can make builds like in our loadout spot in game, and the artifact be something that we can change with the builds. Because as of right now, I have to pick a loadout, and if I don't have the right artifact mods on, I have to go into my artifact and change all those for the build that I'm using. Which is fine. It's just slow and annoying. Make the artifact part of our loadouts.
Solar,
please.
As is the case, I think, in the current seasonal artifact in the Edge of Fate, whereas in a previous one, like in the current episode Heresy artifact, I believe there's been more focus on things like your Void, your destabilizing rounds, or your Bolt Charge, like stuff like that. Like different flavors at different times, which means that different builds are slightly more meta, which means that it should feel like some decent variation between those different seasons of play. But that's the theory. Right? It's all theory. And I totally recognize the fact that sometimes the theory on these things sounds great. And what I've just described, I think on paper sounds decent. But in practice, sometimes it sucks ass. That's just the way that these things go sometimes. And so, like I said, in my critique video, I've got a whole load of critique about what they're doing here. But for now, on paper, I at least like the fact that Bungie is thinking about this stuff. They recognize there are problems here, and they are making active, fundamental changes to Destiny to try and solve those problems. Holy moly, that's a lot of talking for just one section of the video. Okay, this is going to be a long one. Let's move on to the new location, the new story, and then we'll get back to some of the rework, fundamental core system design change stuff. So Kepler is a new space. I got to do an interview with Allison, who is just the absolute best. She is amazing, and Robbie, and we had an in-depth conversation about all of the design decisions that went into choosing Kepler in the first place and how they built that world out and stuff like that. That interview is on my channel, but for now, the high level is that it's a mysterious location that we are invited to, and on the location, there are lots of secrets and little puzzles and hidden bits and pieces, and there's also a new, like, sort of splinter group of humanity called the Aeonians that we get to interact with. So let me kind of separate these out.
Oh, that's why that fucking exotic is called Aeon, or the set bonus for that legendary set is called Aeon. That's gonna be really confusing for new players when they're like, why is there an exotic named Aeon? and then there's a legendary set named Aeon, but now there's a people called the Aeon. I feel like this is going to be really confusing for new players, but I don't know. Maybe considering Aeon the exotic isn't used very much, maybe people won't really care all that much. Who
Now
knows?
into sort of gameplay and then story itself. We're going to start with gameplay. On Kepler, you've got the blue ball ability called Matter Spark, which we all saw in the reveal. There's also a relocator, which looks like, I forget exactly what it's called, but one of those rocket launcher thingies, like a fallen rocket launcher thingy.
Scorch
What's the
Cannon.
name of those things? They look kind of similar. You've got a Rosetta, which is a way of decoding the Aeonian language, I believe, and you can use it to decode things in general. And you've got matter realignment, which is you sort of moving stuff around. And I think there's a bunch of other bits and pieces there as well. And each of these can be leveled up. So you can get Matter Spark 2, Matter Spark 3, Matter Spark 4 by doing various things. So what did that feel like, right? Like you go to a new location, you get a lot of new little tricks that you can do to access secret areas and solve puzzles and just sort of spend time in the world. And I think that there is some negative here that is in the feedback video, the critique video, but the positive here is that I really like opportunities in games to get a lot of new systems and then to combine them in novel, smart ways in order to get an outcome that I want. And there were a couple of times, not a huge number, but there were a couple of times where I was sort of putting my thinking cap on, being like, okay, so I can relocate to here, and then if I use that in combination with the realignment thing, maybe then I get onto this platform and then I Matter Spark because my Matter Spark's on a timer and I need to be in that spot before I activate it. And like, it was that kind of organizing the dance of all the new abilities that would then lead to you sort of like completing something. And I like that in theory. In practice, it didn't speak to me as much as I was hoping it would do. We'll save that for the other video. But they exist and they are verbs to be used for the player in game design terms. And that I like. And I like the fact that Bungie is also just sort of keen to experiment with this stuff. Like, we're not just getting to another planet where you land and then you hold W and, or maybe actually what you do is you pull out your Sparrow and then you hold W and you just have to sort of like go for ages to get to where you need to go. Like, that was very much the case in like the Dreaming City, for example. Like, you just land in there and then you're just like driving for a while. I personally am tired of that, you know? So it's nice to have a little bit of a mix up in the rhythm of moving through a space. And one of the things that they've done here, for example, is they've put in sort of these like fast travel-y, warpy things that mean that you can get from one area to another literally as if you're just teleporting. And it's a really nice little quality of life move. But on the flip side, and again, more on this in the other video, the fact that you even need to engage with these systems at all does mean that you can't just like brain AFK hold W to get to where you need to go the whole time. You do need to interact with the world a little bit. And that's going to mean that some people will be able to very skillfully do that, whereas others are going to be like, oh, let me remember whereabouts is the pad here that I need to shoot. Oh, there it is. Okay. And that will be friction for some people. Now, one of the things I do really like about Kepler is just the overall vibe. It's not that it was so visually stunning that I was just like lying back on the floor with my sort of eyes wide going, oh my God, I'm seeing the heavens in front of me. It wasn't that. I don't know. It was distinct enough that it felt like a new space, which I feel like in Destiny is probably not the easiest thing in the world to do because we've had so many of these things over the years. But it was distinct and also felt like there was a ton of stuff squeezed in there to just do. Loads of chests to find, and the ways to get to those chests were sometimes fairly complex, in other cases extremely simple, like almost frustratingly so, but again, the other video. But just overall, I felt like there's probably, I don't know, like a dozen hours of just like exploring content to do there. If you were only looking for chests, you could probably do that for a while and not find all of them because there's just so many. They are genuinely everywhere. It's like every new space you go into, it'll say that you've got a little mystery in the corner that you can solve, and those mysteries will be just a standard chest you need to interact with, or there'll be something a little bit more complex that requires you to use your new verb toolkit. And I like that, right? I'm a secrets guy, And if you start putting the word mystery on my screen, it's going to make me happy. I would always prefer a scenario where they are complex mysteries, and that's why they didn't always resonate with me, because a lot of them are very simple. But at the end of the day, would I prefer no mystery or a simple mystery? I'd prefer the simple mystery, right? So for that reason, I had a pretty good time on Kepler. And this dovetails with the story stuff because it's a new saga now, right? It's the Fate saga. Bungie recognized that they've had this massive, expansive light and dark saga for the last 10 years, but people know that that's over, and they need to inspire their audience again if they want to hook them on more years and years of Destiny. And that's what the Fate saga is going to attempt to spin up. And from talking to Allison, my God, I trust that woman with my whole heart. She has such a deep understanding, I think, of what the story needs. And I don't mean that in terms of like whether or not people really want the Hive to do a certain thing on a certain like, I'm not talking like that. I'm talking in terms of very meta structural analysis of the story. I feel like Allison has she's just got it. The way that she thinks about the composition of it all.
That's good.
The way that she
someone at the helm that like
the
actually wants the story to go somewhere and has real tangible ideas for Bungie to act on. That's been needed for a while.
The overall arcs that we're going to be seeing, I felt from my discussions with her like we were in very good hands. There's an energy also that she emanates that is so infectious, and I can only imagine what that's like for the dev team. They must be absolutely all galvanized like crazy by her energy. It's so good, and it's starting to actually be visible in the game, right? With things like the Aeonians. They're a really cool group of people who are a splinter group of humanity that have been on Kepler for a very long time, and yet have also interacted with us in very recent memory through Chestiny, right? So do you remember during the Chestiny puzzle, we got the Aeon terminal? Now we have the Aeonians. Put two and two together.
Yeah.
That's something that we really need to explore, right? There's also stuff in the terminal that Allison says has not yet been even found yet as far as she's aware. So there's more there, and that's now leading us to this little group of humans on this strange planet. And what I love about this is that I just read Maricena, and I read the origin story of the Awoken, right? And I really relished this little nugget of story of a group of humans leaving the Traveler and embarking on their own journey, choosing their own fate, actually. And to now be embarking on the Fate saga journey and see a similar thing having happened, like a splinter group of humans that are on this place and they're sort of separate to the rest of the world, like, that's really cool. I love that sort of thing just in my space magic sci-fi universe. It's always fun. So I'm really excited from a story perspective. But I also want to talk a little bit about the design of the story. I think that there's going to be some critique of this in my other video, but I know that Bungie wants to play with non-linear storytelling and stuff like that. And at its face, I also really agree that that would be amazing for the game. I think that they're in a tricky position because if they start really playing with genre in a big way, like, for example, if they did a campaign that was like a psychological horror or something, or if they did a campaign that was like a racing game, right? Something like that. Like, if they fully flip the script and just change genre to mix things up a little bit, I think that would be one of the best things that you could ever do for Destiny, to just play in that way, to experiment. But at the same time, I think that there would be so many insufferable people being like, not my Destiny, get that out of here. I need another linear campaign that lasts 4 hours and that I don't have to think about and that I just play so I can get up to power and then I can never touch it ever again. You know what I mean? Like, I worry that they're between a rock and a hard place a little bit. And I think that for that reason, the non-linearity that I experienced in the Edge of Fate campaign, which was minimal because I didn't have loads and loads of playtime, I only played a select handful of missions, it felt like it was a step in a positive direction towards breaking up the flow of things a little bit, but not a leap. Just a step.
The clap of my ass cheeks keeps alerting the guards.
I think it's a step that needs to be taken. It's just that I know that there are further steps ahead in that overall journey, if that makes sense. So let's talk about armor. Let's talk about stats. Let's talk about all that stuff.
Lex, could you type something in chat really quick? Just anything. I don't really Doesn't matter. I
So
just want to
you'll
see
look
something.
on the little icon
Like,
of
that came
your
through. Why
gun,
did the rest not?
and if it's got 5 pips, that means it is tier 5. But to begin with, at the start of the power curve...
Okay, now it's coming through.
nobody's
Sorry,
gonna be
my multi-chat was bugging out earlier. Now stuff's coming through. Okay, we're good.
and tier 5s, because tier 5s are only available from pretty hard activities. You need to be high power and achieving a high performance score in order to get them. So let me break down how that's going to work. Like I said before, you've got your 200 permanent power, right? That's your initial power chunk. And then you've got your seasonal power that will layer on top of that. And let's say you get up to 300 power, for instance. At that time, you cannot earn tier 5s, as far as I understand it. They are just not earnable at 300 power. And so you're going to have to continue your power grind further to start getting to higher power levels so that you can unlock higher difficulties, so you can put on more modifiers, and the combination of all of those things will mean that you'll start earning your tier 5s. So what I wrote down at the event here is that if you're at platinum difficulty reward rank, which is basically silver, gold, platinum, diamond, like it works like that. If you're at platinum, which I believe is probably something like 400 power or something like that, that equivocates to you being at platinum, then you need
tier
a
4?
difficulty rating of A+ in order to get a tier 5 drop. And
Oh, okay.
an A+ is basically whacking on a ton of modifiers. Like, you're gonna have a lot of extra challenges, like damage taken while airborne is
So that's the thing that I don't hate about this, is that they're kind of giving us, we're able to turn any kind of challenge. Great place to fucking pause. Awesome face, Milo. They're basically taking anything that is a challenge, giving us the ability to make them more challenging, turning them into like GM level threats sort of thing, so we can get stuff that we want, which is nice.
Priest and no HUD and not swap and like all these other things combined together, that's gonna get you your A+. But if you're at a higher power, such as like 500 power, for example, which won't be available until after Ash and Iron, because the soft cap on power before then is 450, I believe, and I think it's then gonna be 550 once Ash and Iron is out. So let's say you're at 500 power, then I think you'll be at diamond reward rank based on your power level.
Oh, so it's all based on our power level. So it's not like we're gonna have like an easy time getting this tier 5 stuff. It's actually still going to be challenging. Like it all scales, which is good. Okay,
and
cool.
when you're in diamond, or at least the right place in diamond, because they also do have tiers that I don't fully understand just yet, but within diamond, I believe you just need to, for example, get an A instead of an A+, and that will still get you tier 5s. So because you're a higher power, the game is sort of rewarding you for having done that grind, and so you can get your tier 5s with slightly fewer crazy modifiers enabled in that match. So a little confusing. We'll talk about that in the feedback video, but what's the difference between these tier 5s, right? Like, why would I care about getting a tier 5 gun if I can just get it at tier 2 easy peasy? So here are some examples, right? Tier 1 is just a base weapon. At tier 2, you're going to get an enhanced trait. So they're changing the way that the enhancement system works. You know, right now, you can enhance the weapon, and then you'll get the little enhancement on the weapon perk, and you'll get a little boost on your trait.
I'm sure he's going to go into this, but I wanted to take a second, because like how crafting works right now, I'm pretty sure crafting in this new thing, that this new system we're getting, is like not a thing. Like we're not able to craft any of the new weapons, which is honestly, in my opinion, awesome. However, I feel like canning the crafting system altogether is just going to piss off a lot of people. And I've explained this to, I mean, I'm sure you remember Vex, but I've explained this to a couple of my friends now. Like, if they end up canning all of it, they're just going to annoy people. What they could do is make it so instead of you crafting an entire gun sort of thing, you still have to chase like the role you want, or at least close to it. Like, you know how you run a raid and you're like, okay, cool, I got a 4 out of 5. Say your 4th column perk sucks, but like the rest of it is like perfect. Like that's exactly what you wanted. What they, in my opinion, what they should change crafting into is make it so that per weapon, you can kind of change one of the perks. You can craft a perk to make it a 5 out of 5. Instead of crafting the whole gun, let's say, what gun can I use for an example? What did I recently get that was really good? Well, actually, we can use no survivors so I have my 5 out of 5 no survivors roll, the one that I wanted. Perfect, nothing wrong with it. Let's say I didn't have incan in that final in the 4th column. If I got anything else, I should be able to go to the crafting place, spend moderate amount of fucking materials. Don't make it cheap, make it expensive. Craft my incan and swap it out with that bullshit roll I got in the 4th column. That way we still have crafting, we still have a choice. It's expensive, but I still have to chase my roll. And it makes it so like crafting isn't, I just made my roll, now I don't care about any of the drops that I get. But it still leaves crafting in a place where Bungie could maybe iterate on it in the future. Do I think it's a perfect thing? No. Do I think it's something that could help? Absolutely.
That system, I think, is being sort of flipped around a little bit now. So tier 2 gives you an enhanced trait. Tier 3 gives you an enhanced trait and multiple perks also. Tier 4 is enhanced trait, multiple perks, and then you also get your mods, magazine, or barrel enhanced. And then tier 5 is your enhanced trait, your multiple perks in 3 columns, whereas all the previous was 2 columns. You get your enhanced mods, magazine, barrel, or origin trait, or maybe and origin trait, and you get cosmetic, ornament, and holo chip, which basically means that you get a custom skin. Any tier 5 comes with a custom skin that you can equip, and that sort of indicates that it's a tier 5, that it's special. And then I think you can also get shinies of everything, but in my understanding, that's a separate system. And armor has a similar sort of flow from tier 1 to tier 5, but the sort of juicy thing I think that most people are going to be most excited about, other than just getting shiny armor with cool sort of shaders on them, is that at tier 5, and I think also at tier 4, but I could be mistaken on that, you're going to get 11 energy instead of 10. So you're going to be able to use some extra mods or some extra mod combinations that you wouldn't normally be able to do with just 10 points available, because you're going to have 11. So more or less, this is Bungie's way of saying, we've got so many different forms of weapons in the game right now, and we've also got these things currently that we call adept, and there's sort of some confusion about exactly how this stuff works. Let's try and simplify it and just make it so that the whole game is basically built around you getting adept shiny weapons, which are your shiny tier 5s, or adept shiny armor. And I have to say, as much as I think that this is...
This guy's copying me in the Dreaming City. What do you mean? Give me 1 sec. I'll be right back, guys. I was shadow skating, so just finished my weekly. He looked at me, switched to all well skating things, and started well skating. He was afraid that someone else in this fucking space was one-upping him, so he had to swap.
Right now. I
just grabbed some food. Sorry guys, I
it will
haven't
be a
eaten
better
today.
system in the long run. I think. I'm not an expert. I obviously have not been playing Destiny for a crazy long time, but my impression is that this is a better fundamental system for them to build on rather than the current system right now. It's just a bit easier to look at a gun when it's got these pips on it and be like, you know what? That's a tier 2. I can be more confident that I want to scrap that tier 2 because it's not a tier 4 or a tier 5, right? Like that alone, for me, as a player who struggles so much with inventory management in Destiny 2, it's probably my primary pain point in the game. The fact that this is just going to make it a little bit easier is so good. And granted, there may be a world where I get like a tier 2 weapon and it's actually got the god roll perks, the exact ones that I need, and I don't need to worry about ever getting a tier 5 because I've got what I wanted. I got what I came here for, right? That is still possible, don't get me wrong. But the fact that outside of those niche scenarios where that very rare event would happen, I can much more easily be like, you know what? I just want to grind for a while until I'm at tier 5 or until I'm earning these tier 5s from this power curve. And that's where I'm going to start being more picky about what I'm getting. That's why I'm going to start being more picky about what I save, what I vault, what I don't, etc. So that's why I think this is a good improvement to the system. Now, if Bungie wanted some feedback for what I think needs to happen next, like in Renegades, for example, I think that you should be able to sort of pre-configure a certain weapon in the game as like something that you are chasing. And then when that thing shows up, it should show you that it's shown up so that I stop scrapping the gear that I'm grinding for by accident. Like that would be just lovely. As it stands, that's not in the game. And that's okay, but
that Dim kind of does this already, sorta. I know you can upload your own spreadsheets on Dim. And like you can kind of have it like based on, actually we can look. Where is it? It's in the settings. Here, the wish list stuff. You can add your own wish list, basically. This is great. Very confusing for new players to figure out how to like do this themselves. I don't even know how this works. I don't know what files you need. I could probably figure it out in a few minutes if I looked it up, but like there's these two that are already on here, which again is awesome. But having that in game, oh my god. Game changer. That'd be sweet.
But, you know, it's a step in that direction, so cool. Now, the rework that's happened here also combines perfectly with the stats rework as well that's happening for your just sort of like base Guardian stats that come from your armor. So, goodbye Resil, you will probably not be missed. I think that for most people, the armor grind has been long over for a very long time because of the reasons that I explained earlier. And so mixing things up a little bit so that armor is something worth chasing now is definitely worthwhile, and this new system is going to introduce that. Now, again, I'm being positive in this video. There's a separate critique video with some of the issues with this system, but let's explore the positives because that's what we're doing here. I think that one of the massive benefits of the stats rework is that each individual piece of gear that you get is going to have a gear archetype. So, for example, that might be Brawler, where your primary stat is going to be melee and your secondary stat is going to be health. Or it might be Bulwark, where your primary stat is health, your secondary...
This is really cool, because we're not going to be just chasing for stat rolls anymore. We'll be chasing for these specific archetypes of armor. So, like, if I want... Let's just take my Prismatic Titan right now, right? Melee, grenade, Rezel. So in the new, it would be melee, grenade, health. For 2 or 3 of my pieces, I could be looking for the grenade and melee archetype. And then for 1 piece, I could be looking for health and melee or health and grenade, that kind of thing. That's going to be really cool to like look for. So I'm really excited for that.
It's class, and that's it, right? Like the way it's going to work is each of these archetypes has these 2 primary stats. And to give you an example of how this affects me, right, in my armor grind, currently, if I get something and I've got good, like, Resil, then I'm happy. Like, Resil's pretty much where I start, always. But then, while I'm looking at my Resil, if I see that, oh, that's unfortunate, there's also loads of points in Mobile, for example, I just kind of scrap it. I'm just like, okay, I don't care. I want to get rid of you, right? Similarly,
Exactly.
Int is something that I think PvP people build into, maybe, but I don't care about it. So I just scrap anything that's got high int because I know that stats have been wasted, right? And the whole like wasted stats thing is going to be much less of a concern, I think, in this new system because things are spikier, and where they are not spikes, there's less of the trash that you don't want. And this also means that there's room to then play with going over 100, which is this new system that they've added. And I thought this was pretty cool. I think it's a fun way to customize your build a little bit further. And admittedly, it's like, it's tiny little percentage tweaks in terms of the difference that it makes. But I like that sort of stuff. Like, knowing that you can squeeze out an extra 5% here or there is just, it's fun. It's fun for the end game high skill players. And I don't pretend that that's me, but there's definitely a lot of the folks in my chat, and they really help me to understand a lot of the builds that people are developing and stuff, which has made the game so much more fun to play and to try and learn so much about, because the complexity of Destiny is admittedly what makes it fun as much as it is also what makes it hard for you to understand what to do sometimes. So let's go through a couple of these stats and just kind of explain like the way that they're different now. So there's now a health stat instead of a Resil stat. And that stat increases the amount of health you gain each time you pick up an orb and reduces flinching from
that's awesome.
While
I'm proud of you. That's awesome.
And flinch resistance.
That'll be wicked.
Go over 100
for what?
Health,
if you don't mind me asking.
You then get an enhanced benefit, and that's that your shields recharge more quickly and have additional health when facing combatants. And so your shield recharge rate, for example, will be boosted by 5% or 10%, and your shield health will also be slightly increased as well. Let's rattle through a couple more of these. Super increases the amount of super energy you get from all sources, and the
again, this is really fucking cool. I'm happy they're doing this. I do want to come back to this for a sec. I think Datto in one of his videos brought this specific thing up. Or no, was it Sweat? It might have been Sweat. Excuse me. The shield recharge rate and the shield health. He asked if this is kind of like how it is in game now, where the higher your resilience is, the faster your shields and stuff will come back, as well as its recharge rate. And they said it's both. So cool.
Quickly and have additional benefit over 100 is it increases the damage done by
2 jobs that I work from home are what looks good for me so far. Oh, nice. $15-18 fit. Not bad at all. Any money is money.
Your
honestly.
Grenades. Class. This is one that I built into at the event. It reduces your class ability cooldown and increases the amount of class ability energy provided by all sources. And then the enhanced benefit is that you gain an overshield when you use your class ability. Then for weapons, it increases your weapon reload speed and handling, and increases weapon damage against minor and major combatants. And that's a 10% boost and a 15% boost if you've got...
I just realized. This is only against minor and majors. Red and orange bars. Not many bosses or bosses. So this isn't going to be a must-have in like raid scenarios. That's what I think people were worried about yesterday. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what people were worried about. But if it's just minor and majors, cool.
Got it maxed. And then the enhanced benefit is that ammo bricks from defeated targets have a chance to contain additional rounds, and it increases weapon damage against bosses and opposing guardians. So the question you're...
Huh? Oh, it's when it's past 100. I'm a dumbass. I'm so glad I can read. Yeah, okay. So once it's past 100, then it applies to bosses and guardians. Okay, I'm just stupid. Okay. This will be still a must-have in raids. It'll still be good for raids because of the ads. The problem is during contest. This will be a must-have during contest. It will be. Like, How many times, Vex, like realistically, have we, even just in like the dungeons that we've done the last couple of weeks, have we started to kill a boss and we've got him down to like that much health? That extra 5% from each of us would have killed it. You know what I mean? Or sorry, 8% PVE. Yeah, 8% from each of us. I think at max it's 10%. How much? Like that extra 10% would have killed it. You know what I mean?
That ammo bricks from defeated targets have a chance to contain additional rounds, and it increases weapon damage against bosses and opposing guardians. So the question you're probably wondering is, okay, it's all well and good, Milo, you rattling off all of these stats. Do they make a difference? And honestly, it feels like they do. Like, if you've got no super stat whatsoever, your super goes real slow, man. Like, it really does feel like it's very slow. Similarly, I've actually got this clip provided by Benny. Thank you so much, Benny, for sending this over to showcase some of the differences in PvP between going no armor and therefore 0 weapon stat versus speccing into the weapon stat and testing out your damage against another guardian with 140 hand cannon. And as you can see, it's not.
That's crazy in PvP though. He's gonna say it's not very much. 4 more damage in PvP is everything.
Such a big difference that you would absolutely be slaughtered if you weren't using any weapon stat here. But at the same time, I suspect there's going to be some really interesting build potential with people who run the numbers and figure out, oh, okay, even if I'm just doing 2 more damage with this one gun, that means that I can get the kill before I need to reload, or like those sorts of things, or I can get 3 kills in 1 clip instead of 2, or whatever it might be. And that really might shake things up in PvP. And it should mean that they continue to sort of shake up over time as well, I think, as new weapons are added. So that's pretty exciting. I thought that was a pretty sort of interesting side effect of this speccing over 100 thing that we now have, and the fact that the weapons slot, or the weapons stat rather, exists at all. That's pretty cool in my opinion. Oh, also, by the way, if you want to check out more PvP specific big brain knowledge, I've linked Benny's video in the description down below. He knows all there is to know about it. So don't come to me for that kind of information, because I just can't help, really. I don't have the expertise, but he does. So that's linked below. Thank you, Benny, also for letting me use your clip. And then somehow, holy moly, there's so much. On top of all of those things, there's set bonuses now. There's one called Bushido. There's one called TechSec. There's one called Aeon Renewal. I've got a separate video that talks actually in some depth about these set bonuses and about the new exotics. So if you want to watch that video, it's linked in the description or in the corner of the screen or somewhere right now. Just click onto my channel, you'll find it. But what I want to say that's positive about the addition of these set bonuses is that there was always a risk that they would add set bonuses and they'd be way too overpowered. Like, way too overpowered. It's something that I've seen other similar games fall into the trap of before, and then they need to walk it back and get rid of the set bonuses or nerf them into the ground, and it just means that nobody's happy in the end. But I think Destiny is currently stepping into it in quite a smart way, because they have some fun use cases, but they don't seem overpowered, at least from my completely newbie perspective, okay?
He says this, but I think it's the Bushido set where you basically get heal clip for free. That's broken. Now I don't need heal clip on anything. Awesome. Do I think it's broken? I guess not, but that'll probably be the set that everyone runs. Or at least the 2 set. Because I don't even know if you need the 4. The 4 set one, the 4 set bonus isn't exactly anything crazy.
Okay, so let's take Bushido as an example. It's going to mean that if you fully spec into it and you get 4 Bushido items,
I'm having a hard time getting it in.
It's fine. I mean, this is your first time, isn't it?
Continuing to use the sword. And I think that's really cool. Like, give me a reason to use this slightly more janky weapon.
I will ban you.
What are you going to pick most of the time? A sword in your heavy slot? Or, I don't know, the Thunderlord? You're going to pick the Thunderlord, right? 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 Yeah, no matter how much you hate the burgers that use that weapon, in that scenario, unless you're edging eagerly, then you're probably going to be picking the T-Lord, right? Like, just probably, because it's just going to do more damage than a sword is going to do, and it's going to be less fiddly, it's going to be less annoying. So, yeah. But now, with the set bonus, maybe you reconsider a little bit. Like, I like the fact that it's opening up room for current non-meta stuff to maybe have a place in the meta. And the risk is that it goes too far, and it then means that the non-meta stuff becomes the meta, and that's what you want to kind of avoid. And so far from what I've seen, and again, more info in the other video, they seem pretty good. I think similar, to be honest, applies to the new exotics. I don't think that they're the insanest, craziest things that I've ever seen, but they were fun. They were fun to use. I really like the hand cannon. I think the Graviton Spike is probably my favorite of all of them because you can kind of juggle your arc and stasis abilities on one weapon, but because it's arc and stasis, I feel like that also makes it more situational. Like, if you don't have
I love this. I love that hanging. I'm never taking that thing off.
Or stasis in a
Sword fit, do more
season,
damage with Thunder
then
Lord, probably.
the gun is going to be less useful. And if you've only got buffs to one of them, like only buffs to arc, for example, and none to stasis, then it's just going to be like, maybe I just use an arc exotic that's not this then, right? Like, I feel like it makes it more niche because of that, but I also like the fact that it's kind of niche, and there's going to be a scenario in like 5 years time where this specific weapon is going to be crazy useful in like a raid or something, just because of the way that it can juggle in this way. I can see that happening. So it's fun. It's a fun gun to use. Now, another thing that's incredibly positive about the Edge of Fate is the firing range. Bro, they cooked here. I don't know how this didn't make it into the game earlier. Like, honestly, I feel like this could have come out 5 years ago and it would still have felt late. But it's here now, and I'm not in this video here to be snarky.
Fuck, we needed this in Destiny 1.
So I'm very happy that the firing range is in the game. It's just a really welcome addition, I think, in a game where currently damage testing from the other creators that I spoke to is not the easiest thing in the world. It's been a pain, like having to sort of find an ogre that can take enough damage from you to test all your weapons out. It takes time, right? And time is precious in Destiny because the game's already asking so much of your time, and to then have to go through extra hoops just to test a weapon or test a build or test a group build, not ideal, right? Whereas now you can just do it from the tower, easy peasy. It's got several features. I think that there's also some Easter eggs in that little room, which is sort of something I want to dig into a little bit once the actual expansion is out. But overall, I mean, there's nothing negative to say about the firing range. It's a huge W, and I think that they should be applauded for that. Nice job, Bungie. Now, for PvP, there's not a huge amount of positive stuff to say, I will admit. But there is one thing to say, which is that it's nice that you're going to have specific drops from PvP that are going to be worth chasing in PvP, motivate people to play PvP, etc. And it's also nice that you can do your whole power grind in the portal in PvP playlists. You don't have to go elsewhere for it. I think that that is good. So as much as it's pretty minimal for PvP thumbs ups here, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some stuff in the stats reworks, etc. that are also positive for PvP. There's not a huge amount I can say about it because I didn't really get a chance to play the PvP at Bungie. Like, my station wasn't working properly, so I wasn't able to, unfortunately. But what was working at Bungie, corny segue, was Bungie's attitude, man. I've got to give them some credit here, because I think this is the sort of thing that gets swept under the rug a lot. There is a world, right, hypothetically, where Milo, Mr. Waffle Waffles, goes to a creator event put on by a video game company. Yes, this has happened in the past. And I get there, and it's a complete mess. And it feels like the publisher kind of doesn't want creators to be there. Like, they're almost irked that creators exist in the first place. It's not well set up for you to get optimal capture. There's so many extra hurdles and friction in place that inhibit me from doing my job and inhibit the press that might be there trying to do their jobs and like all those sorts of things. And so I want to acknowledge,
I wonder who he's talking about.
This scenario at
Activision.
Bungie, my first time at Bungie, none of that was the case. They were amazing. Genuinely amazing. I've been doing this for 16 years, guys. It's been a very long time. This was so well executed. The order of operations, the organization of it all was very good. They are very good at what they do. Whether it's the devs that were taking feedback and being very receptive about things that we didn't like. Like, I put my hand up several times and I was like, I just want to flag, I'm really not liking this thing that I'm looking at right now. Or this puzzle, I think, is designed really badly here because of certain things giving me the wrong feedback. Or, hey, I just found a big bug that just like broke this, like whatever it might have been, because we were playing on an early build, there were things that I was calling out. And the devs were so receptive to all of that. They were encouraging it so much. And that's not an easy skill to build, right? To have that thick skin, to recognize that I'm not critiquing the dev, I'm critiquing the bug, right? And I'm helping mutually us work together to solve a problem so that the broader player base has a better time. But they were nailing it. So I want to give credit to Bungie for that. And I also want to give credit to their marketing and their comms and creator team that sort of all interchange and were all helping out with different things, because it was such a smooth event. Like, I had such a good time just by virtue of the fact that they had everything dialed in. They had a plan for everything. They were really accommodating when I was like, oh, I'd love to do an interview. They were like, let's set it up. There's actually going to be another interview coming in the future. So I've already done this one interview that's on my channel right now, but there's going to be another interview coming very soon because of the fact that I was like, hey, I want to propose this idea for a certain kind of interview. And they were like, let's make it happen, dude. Like, to be working with creatives that are excited to create with you, to co-create, like, cinema. It was so good. And I have to be honest, not all the companies that I've ever worked with have that approach. In fact, in some instances, they have the opposite approach. So it was very nice. So I wanted to applaud Bungie for that, because also, when was the last time you guys, in your critique of a game studio or your analysis of like, oh, Bungie's better than Ubisoft's better than EA's better than Activision's better than this, that, and the other, comparison, Microsoft, Sony, comparison. When was the last time you actually had any meaningful data about whether or not a game studio or a game publisher had a strong creator relations department? I feel like no one talks about that. Everyone just takes it for granted, but they were doing a really good job. So I wanted to give an emphatic thumbs up there. So there it is. We've been waiting for this. Am I allowed to talk about this? You'll find out in the next 2 seconds when we either cut to a clip of me saying, sorry, I couldn't talk about it, or a clip of me talking about it. So let's do that now. So raid information was
Limited.
sparse to the point of basically not even happening. But they did give us the name for the raid modification that they're going to be doing at a later date to the original raid release date. So you remember they put out that timeline like a year ago now or something, and it said that there was going to be like a different version of the raid or like something like that in the future. The name for that is Epic Raids, or at least the working name right now. And what they said, and they were very clear about, is that this is not a scenario where, let's say you've got like a 4 encounter raid. We're not going to be getting 2 encounters at launch and then months later getting the other 2 encounters in the epic raid. That's not what is happening here. They are not holding back content, but instead there's going to be some sort, and they were very general with wording on this. So honestly, don't even quote me, but I'm just trying to sort of convey general flavor. There's going to be some sort of modification and I think further story exploration and further challenge available in the epic raid. But it should absolutely not be thought of as, oh, they're like time locking the final encounter. Like, that's not the way it's going to be. And that's...
I almost wonder if this epic raid is supposed to be what hard mode raids are right now. You know what I mean? That kind of sounds like what they're trying to say.
It's really good news to me, because when I first heard about this in whatever it was, the Dev Insight articles like a year ago, my worry was, maybe they're just trying to space out the development so that they can do a chunk of raid and then they can kind of get community feedback and then do the rest of the raid. But that's just not the case, which is really positive. But outside of that, they didn't tell us anything at all. Like, I didn't get any spoilers. I have no other information to report on the raid. Other than the fact that I have a crackpot theory. We love a crackpot theory. Basically, there's this Rosetta location ability, right, that you can use to decode stuff. And part of it lets you put in these Aeon symbol things into like keypads, I really think that there is a strong chance that
That's part of the
in
raid.
the raid, those symbols are going to show up and we're going to have to like do some Aeonian stuff. I got a sense for it. So mark my words, if in several months time we see a weird Aeon panel thing in that raid, know that your boy saw that one coming. So that is my overall sort of spiel about the individual topics on Edge of Fate. But what's my overall stance, right? What is my comprehensive, positive side of my opinion? Again, with the negative stuff in the other video. Well, I think that there is a lot to love here.
Maybe the epic raid is like raid layers in year 1. Maybe, but he said it's part of the same raid. It's not like a break off. You know what I mean? Alternate path with different encounters. Well, he said there isn't going to be like different encounters. He said it's going to be more story based. Maybe we do get like another area, kind of like that. Kind of like the excuse me, the underbelly sort of thing. That kind of idea, maybe. But
I think some of this is stuff that we won't really reap the true benefits from for a couple of years now. Like, a lot of the story stuff is going to take a while to pay off.
do you want hard mode coming back? Maybe. That'd be nice.
A lot of the fundamental changes are just sort of setting a better foundation for the next decade of Destiny, but they're not necessarily going to be something that is perfect straight away, right? So I think that there's room needed for us to be patient about what's happening here. While also recognizing that these are good bones, or at least I think that they're good bones, for a really healthy step towards a better Destiny coming in the days, weeks, and months, and years ahead. It was a new experience for me playing a Destiny expansion early, so I really wasn't sure how to cover all of this stuff as well, especially with my limited knowledge of the game. And so something I'd really love from you guys is just some feedback as to what you liked about this format, what you didn't like about the format. If there's any suggestions that you have, like any feedback from me, I would really appreciate any constructive criticism. That would be very, very kind of you. And also, like I said, I've got a...
all right, well, that was everything you loved.
Hi guys, Mr. Waffle.
I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know if we're gonna be playing anything today. We don't have anyone on to run the fucking dungeon with, so it's probably just gonna be a lot of going over this kind of stuff.
Here, this is everything I hated at the Edge of Fate early preview event when I got to play the expansion at Bungy HQ. To be absolutely clear, this video is focusing on all of the negatives, but there is an entire separate video focused on all of the positives that I'd recommend you maybe watch before this one, because it's probably the better way around to watch the positives and then the negatives here. And also,
One of the big things I'm really excited for, thankfully, that they've added to this is straight up just knowing when we're getting ammo drops. I know that's like such a small thing, and like Vex, you know, I sent you that video like 2 weeks ago now, going over like how to tell when you're gonna get specific ammo drops. This was needed a long time ago. I'm happy we're getting it
for this one, because it's probably the better way around to watch the positives and then the negatives here. And also, these negatives are going to be constructive criticism. I'm not here to just hate on Bungie like the internet loves to do, but rather I'm here to provide my feedback about what didn't resonate with me, some maybe directional shifts that I'd like to see in the future, and just some overall thoughts on how things are going to be maybe received by the community, or not received by the hardcore folks, but more so received by newer players who are a little bit more aligned with my current experience level with Destiny. At no point in this video am I going to be claiming to have the decisive opinion about these things. At no point in the video am I going to be saying it has to be my way or the highway. I'm aware that these things are very varied, right? And different people have different opinions. These just happen to be mine. So let's please keep all the conversation respectful in the comment section as always. And without further ado, I'm going to dive into some of the things in the Edge of Fate that I'm skeptical of or I didn't like so much. Let's start with the portal. There is a lot that I like about the portal, and all of that stuff is in that separate video, like I mentioned. So
I love that he has marathon and an unhappy face in there, and that's it.
Positives are there. This is all the critique stuff. One of the things I don't really like about the portal is that it means that Bungie is not removing the director from the game, but it's no longer going to be being updated as new locations and new expansions come out. And that means that we will not be seeing Kepler on the director screen. You can find everything else on there, but Kepler's not there. And that's going to just continue to grow and grow as time passes. And to me, that kind of sucks because I really like the director. As much as it might have some issues from a functional standpoint, I really love its aesthetic and it feels like a really core part of Destiny in a weird way. And for that to no longer be the destination for tracking where you need to go is kind of a shame to me. So I kind of dislike the portal just at face value because, I mean, look how it massacred my boy. And I mean, jokes aside, I think that this does also have serious consequences for the game because Destiny has a huge number of players who have basically burned out on the game or they've peeled off the game, they've bounced off the game, and they are potentially able to be captured as returning players at some mysterious unknown time in the future, right? That cohort of players is large. And what we're doing now is we're saying for that returning cohort of players, they're going to get back to the game and it's going to be a new system. Instead of the one that they have some player familiarity with, that's not the end of the world, right? If it's a better system, it's a better system. But it is one extra point of friction in a game where there are a lot of points of friction. However, the portal does seek to try and make it as seamless as possible.
Sims is on? Yeah, but I think she's doing other stuff as far as I know. I don't think she wanted to do the dungeon this week anyway. I was talking to her yesterday about it. Or the day before. I think she wants to wait till there's double loot and then go from there.
People to sort of get into the action, and so maybe that particular point of critique is kind of balanced out. However, I don't think that the portal solves all of the problems of game complexity and what should I play next that Bungie is maybe hopeful that it will do. I think it's basically going to take several more iterations of the portal before we get really even close to properly solving that problem. So let me explain why I think the complexity is still an issue. If you say to a new player, dear new player, I want you to tell me how I get insert name of specific exotic gun here, which comes from an exotic mission. How do they do that in the game right now? They go to Google, right? If you say to a new player, hey new player, which of these activities will drop you catalysts and which won't? Where does that new player go? Google. They go to Google. If you say to a new player, you've just got back into Destiny after 6 years and you're looking to do the episode Heresy Act 1 missions and you want to kick those off, where do you go? Now, you might think on that one, you just go to the thing that says Act 1, but you can't launch it currently in the state that the game is in right now without having done some
lurking. No worries.
Does the portal solve those problems?
Do you see the consecration nerf? Apparently, I saw another thing on Reddit that they walked it back a little bit too. I guess they got some pretty heated comments about what they did to not only consecration, but Warlock's Feed the Void shit as well. So it's no longer going to be one aspect slot, it'll be 2. So they're not like totally gutting it, but it is, I think we're still losing one aspect slot, I think. Like, where's my loadouts? Oh, this doesn't, does this have the one that I have saved in game? I don't, it's this one. Yeah, so right now I have 5, right? So I'm losing one of these, and it's probably going to be this one. It's going down to 1. No, that was walked back already. Because it wasn't just consecration, it was knockout as well. I don't know how to break it to you. This has 3. So it's not going to 1, it's going to 2. And knockout staying the same. Rep Prismatic. Yes and no. I mean, I think really on Titan specifically, it's the only thing to run on prismatic, right? Like I'm not gonna run the what is the other one? It's the fucking like the stasis bullshit. No one's running that. Right, it's just using regular solar. Yeah. So like it's not like it's going to gut it. It's just going to make it so it's still going to be good. And it'll be even better with the new build crafting stuff that we have. Like if I spec just into melee on top of the 30% buff I'm getting to my melee fucking damage with Synthos, I'm also getting a 30% buff with my armor and melee shit being at fucking 200. Like it's still going to be good. Hunter is also getting hit harder. Oh yeah, I agree. No, dude, they're hitting all of them, but it was walked back a little bit. So I think they're, instead of, look, I know it's easy to say just buff everything else, but there really isn't any other builds for each class right now. Each prismatic build that everyone's running right now is one build, and that's it. Because it's the only one that makes sense. It does the most damage. It kills the most fucking ads. Like it doesn't make sense to run any of the others that you found online. It doesn't make sense. Do I think that they're gonna fix that? I would like them to. Do I think it's gonna be fixed when this new shit launches? Probably not. Warlock has a lot. Warlock has more than each, but that kind of makes sense considering 80% of the workforce at Bungie is a Warlock main. As shitty as it is, that just, it's bigger, like there's more people to pull from for that kind of thing. But like for Titan and Hunter, there's one build. And the other two are good, they're just nowhere close to as good as the main build. So, I mean, we'll see, right?
As far as I'm aware, it doesn't.
Solar Warlock and buff in the UF. Oh yeah. A lot of our solar stuff is getting buffed in the new update. So
talk to them first, and that's what's going to then unlock the first episode Heresy Act 1 Mission 1 introduction. Like, it doesn't do that. And so as much as Bungie is putting this forth to say, we know we have a problem with people not knowing what to do in Destiny, or not feeling.
If the aspects were changed, it would have been better. If it was Bastion instead of Unbreakable, then you could have paired that up with Drinker's Lash. I agree. No, I think a lot of, I think what they were afraid of when they made Prismatic was making it too broken. And like, they did. even them being afraid of doing it, they still did. There's just like the Unbreakable aspect on Titan specifically is so fucking worthless. Like, I tried using it in PvP the other day. It doesn't block 100% of the damage. It doesn't. It blocks like 60%. So if you have 3 people shooting you in PvP, you're still getting killed. In PvE, it's 100% of the damage. So why is it different? Make it good. What's up, Wood?
Funneled appropriately so that they can take some sort of Googling power out of the experience and instead just...
Wood, do you want to run Prophecy on Ultimatum? They did for sure. Why run Unbreakable if you can just run Strongholds with a sword? You can just still run Lord of Wolves for DPS. Yeah, exactly. No, that's the thing. Like it's like they were too afraid of making Prismatic good. They did it anyway by accident, and now they have no idea what to do. Change what we have. No one's using Unbreakable. It doesn't make sense. There isn't a build that I can come up with, or any of the YouTubers can come up with, to make Unbreakable good. There is. I've seen. I don't know. You know what? Hang on. Let's actually look. If I go YouTube, hang on. Let's Titan Unbreakable build D2. So glad I can spell. Holy fuck. Okay. There is Prismatic build 7 months ago. This one's using, I can't remember the fucking that exotic's name. Here's the build that I was using in Crucible. What Cammy's using here. Ursa, thank you. And like, again, it's just, it doesn't warrant using. It doesn't. Like, there are builds with it. Don't get me wrong. There are builds. It's just, it's not the aspect itself, it ruins your mobility. Like you can kind of walk around with it and stuff. It's just, it's not. Why use that when I can consecrate a room and kill everything 3 times? You know what I mean? Unbreakable needs a range buff. Unbreakable needs a buff for everything, dude. It's not even that you have to be far too close. It's that it doesn't, not only does it not last long enough if you're not being shot at, which is fine, but I think if it's expended and you don't hit, I don't know, 3 enemies with it, it should give you like half your ability back. Because it's useless. Again, why would I use that and like block damage when I could just kill everything in a room anyway? It doesn't make sense. Like it really, like there are builds. But again, why would I use these over my consecration, kill everything in a room build? Why?
Just pour that sort of brain power into Destiny. Like, it's good that they recognize that, but I think the issue is a lot broader than just what should I play today. Like, I think that that's actually a much smaller problem than all of the other individual nitty-gritty little problems that make up the complexity of Destiny's accessibility. And not only that, but I think that part of Bungie's philosophy for the director is to say, we want to make it so that you can play your way, right? Which is a very noble premise that I absolutely back and think is important, right? If you want to power grind in Crucible, you should be able to. If you want to power grind in Gambit, get a life. I'm kidding. But I mean, you're going to have to do something else, I suppose. But
funny he brings up Gambit. Did any of you watch Astacross's video on him playing Destiny Rising and their version of Gambit? That shit is wicked. The serious player is going to run meta or meta adjacent build. If you're someone going for a meme build, then sure, you can build craft with it, but don't be shocked. It's not the best. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like there's right now on Prismatic for each class, barring Warlock, because there's a couple more. There's like maybe 3 builds that are all meta. Like Hunter has the melee build, which is busted as shit, and so does Titan, and that's it. There's just no variation. Like the rest of the stuff that we can run in those classes, it's not worth running. It's just not. Again, why would I block some damage with my grenade when I could kill everything in the room with 1 melee and still have my grenade to either freeze, suspend, or just outright kill more things? It doesn't make sense.
The idea that you
the Ascension build is cool, but it's not anything broken. It's fun. Even Warlock has Pris melee build with Devour, just boogie slap. Yeah, exactly. 100%. There isn't enough build variation on Prismatic on the other classes. Like I said, Warlock has more that they can kind of do right now. I wouldn't say like the other 2 builds, other than the Devour build, is like super busted, crazy broken. I think it's slightly less good than the fucking Feed the Void builds. But like it's still good enough that you could run that at the highest GM whatever, run the next GM with the next build, and it'll still be just as good. Titan and Hunter have 1 build, and that's it. And that's all we got. That's why builds feel super stale right now.
To play the game the way you want to play it and be rewarded thusly is super valid. The problem is, are we just going to end up really siloed where there's a player that never has any reason to like leave their little hobbit hole and venture out into the world of the other game modes because they can get everything that they need from solo ops, right? I think that this is a bit of a stretch for critique because of the fact that there are plenty of reasons to go to those other modes, like set bonuses. You won't be able to get all the sets from one activity, right? There are reasons to go elsewhere, but I do just sort of wonder if this is kind of narrowing people's focus maybe a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if it'll get narrowed and then they'll complain about that. Like, that would be very classic Destiny. And I also, I want to call out specifically actually on solo ops. I was sitting next to Datto, and Datto raised some feedback that I very much agreed with, which was that a lot of the solo op stuff that we did was just boring. It was very dull. And I almost wonder if solo ops is one of the 4 core pillars of the game. It's like solo ops, fireteam ops, pinnacle ops, and then whatever the 4th one is. Like, raid ops or whatever, whatever it's called. Like, if that's the way that we're going here, and a core pillar is solo ops needs to be more interesting, man. Because, yeah, okay, I get it. 10-minute experiences on your own, but it's a weird one because I don't really want Bungie to be using their best ideas on, like, little 10-minute throwaway missions. But that means that I also kind of want solo ops to be dull. But then, like, it's weird to be like, do I want a core of the game to be dull? Like a core of the game's pillars, sorry, to be dull? Like, I don't know. It's just a weird, it's just a weird one. And on the flip side of that, actually, in terms of the sweatiness, because of the way that you customize the portal now, I'm very curious whether it's going to turn into fun sweatiness or annoying sweatiness, because the way it works is in order to get your tier 5s, you need to be at a certain power and you then need to be at a certain difficulty level. And that difficulty level, that rating that you have, like A or A+, comes from which challenge modifiers you have on in the customize menu. And that means doing things like no HUD, not swap, taking extra damage from certain elements, taking extra damage while you're airborne, you take more grenade damage. Like, there's also...
Grounded sucks. It's been in the game before. It sucked then. It's gonna suck now. Chances are not many people are gonna use that.
Also modifiers like that. And you stack a bunch of those all together, and that's what gets you your A+ rating. And then when you're at the appropriate power level, that means that you'll also be at a high enough metal rank, like diamond or platinum or whatever. And that combination gets you your tier 5s so long as you perform. Yeah, simple, right? But that system means that you're going to basically be sweating for your tier 5s. And right now, the equivalent sort of experience is you sweat in your GMs. So we're going from sweating in GMs to sweating in these. And I like the prospect that we're able to tweak the sweatiness a little bit to be more in line with what we want to do, what we find fun. But at the same time, I almost wonder if it's almost like a two-pronged issue where, on the one hand, if it's tuned so that the A+
I just noticed his shirt is Among Us Destiny. Yeah, this was from the Bungie store.
platinum difficulty tier 5 grinds are significantly harder than GMs, then people are going to lose their minds, bro. Like, they already find GMs hard enough as it is. If it's even harder than that, people are going to be suffering, and there's probably going to be like a lot of bullet sponge issues and like stuff like that as well. But then on the flip side, if there's a correct kind of combination that you can do in your modifiers to still get your tier 5s but make it easy, then you suddenly have no reason to ever do a GM ever again, or a GM level experience, I should say, because you've just sort of found a way to like cheese it through easy challenge modifiers, like taking more solar damage in encounters where there are no solar enemies, like stuff like that, right? So I guess my comment here is that I think that there is a lot of really cool stuff in the customization availability in the portal, but it poses quite a lot of existential risks that we're just going to have to watch play out, and they're going to have to sort of continue to develop it over time, I think. I want to be clear. I'm talking about stuff I didn't like in this video. Overall, I think the portal is a good addition to Destiny, but yeah, gonna take some iteration, I think, over the next several seasons. Now let's talk about the consequence of the portal's existence and how Destiny and Bungie are trying to kind of clean up some of the current issues with the grind. So we've got a new grind now. Hello? Hello, can you hear me? I'm from the future. I've been traveling for so long. It's all gone so terribly wrong. There's only one thing that you can do to fix it. It's the only way. You've got to subscribe. Thanks. Where every season you've got your permanent power, and then you've got a new seasonal power that's going to go away at the end of every season. So that's bumping you from 200 to 450 and then 550, and that will all go away again at the end of the Edge of Fate. So that's a lot of power to just lose. And you can only get some of those tier 5 high tier
I'm
drops
rewarding Milo for
from
that.
playing the end game difficulties in the portal with your power being high as well.
Speculative drop table. Interesting. So platinum C+ to A, so C+ and on, you'll have tier 4s dropping. And then diamond tier or ultimate will be tier 5s and up. Interesting. Okay.
And that means that if you don't get all the way up the power grind to power 400 or 450, which is double your permanent power, then that means that you cannot get tier 5 drops, as far as I understand it at least. And that's a big deal, right? Because what that basically means is that right now, if you're a dad and you play Destiny once a week and you jump into a random streamer's stream, you jump into Benny's stream and Benny carries you in PvP for a flawless trials passage, or you jump into like Chantal's stream and you get a raid help and that gets you some raid loot that you've been struggling to get, right? That right now can just get you the thing that you are looking for. But as it stands with this new system, in my understanding, if you're not at that power level, then you're going to be at a metal rating of like gold or something, while Benny's going to be over there at a difficulty rating of platinum. And so
what he's saying is, like, if you don't have power level 500, you're not ever going to have tier 5s drop. Even if you're doing tier 5 shit. I don't hate that, but I can see how other people would find that annoying.
The stuff that you're going to get is just going to be worse.
Worse,
like, you're just not going to be able to get the tier 5s. And similarly, if you're a solo player, like, you just have to be at power. If you're not at power, you won't get the drops. And that's a weird change, right? It's weird to be in Destiny and go from the activity having a fixed reward that you know, if I do a GM, I will get blah, right? And to now be moving into a world where for every single activity in the game, we have to say, if you do activity, you will get blah if. Like, that's a weird layer of complexity that I don't know if people are going to like. And specifically for new players, I worry a little bit that that's a level of abstraction from understanding that might be just one step too far for people. And it's going to mean that people miss out on loot. It means that you'll get to the end of a season and people will not have successfully gotten to the correct power level to be able to get those drops. And I'm sure there'll be catch-up mechanics and stuff. Like, they're not going to really let people miss out. But if they then do that, then it poses the issue of all the players that played for the first half of the season wondering, why the hell did I grind so hard to get this stuff now if I could have just waited for your catch-up mechanics later? So,
but that's also why we have like the raid race and dungeon races now. So the reason that the hardcore player base has to grind really early on is to be ready for the raid race or the dungeon race, or to be ready for the next thing that Bungie comes out with. So I feel like that's kind of a non-issue for like returning players. And the hardcore ones, like if someone gets on and does the catch-up mechanic stuff and gets what I did in a week for what took me 2, I mean, big whoop-de-doo. I don't know. I feel like that's not really a huge issue.
No matter what happens, people are going to kind of feel a bit burned by this system, I think, and I don't know how they're going to deal with that. Similarly, another rock and a hard place situation here is that you've got this armor rework, which has a huge number of positives associated with it that I've talked about in that other video, but there are a lot of people out there who are just sort of like, oh, it's soft sunsetting. And I mean, it's not, in my opinion. I don't think that that's what's happening here, really. I think that the armor system fundamentally needed to change, and I would much rather a bad system be removed than left there just because it got released and I have some loot from it and therefore it must be the case forever. Like, I don't want to inflict a bad armor system on future generations just because I've got armor that happens to be part of that old system. You know what I mean? So like, you can say sunset if you want, but what you see as sunset, I see as a better design for everyone. Like, everyone can now get this better designed armor that will be more fun. So I'm seeing it as a win, as much as this is a video about my critique, that specific comment. However, I think that there is some inherent risk with their thinking with regards to what the grind is going to look like for people season on season, right? From Season of the Reclamation, I think it's called, which is basically the Edge of Fate, to Season of the Lawless, which I think is basically
Renegades.
spanning Renegades. So what Bungie is expecting people to do now is they're expecting people to jump in for a new season of Reclamation, and grind up 200 permanent power levels, then grind up from 200 to 450, the soft cap for the first half of the season. Then they'll be able to start getting...
I just realized something. If we're at 450 for the first half of this season, no one's going to be able to get any tier 5s to drop. If this is correct. Hi, Ari. How are you doing today? We're just yapping about Destiny 2 changes. So this might be kind of boring. Just a heads up. But yeah, so what I'm if we can only get to 450, can't finish the grind in a week. But that goes against what they've done with everything else. Vex. They've said that they're not capping the grind. So this feels stupid. Let the people who want to, like, if I want to grind out to 500 in week 1 and get my tier 5s dropping, let me do that. You know what I mean?
Getting their tier 5s once they're at 400.
How are you doing today, Ari?
And all of the new loot, that's the new legendaries and all that stuff, that is going to get a bonus for the fact that it's new. You get like a small like damage bonus or whatever on new loot.
But no, Vex, that's what this is saying. The diagram that he showed, if I'm not at 500, tier 5s will not drop at all. I will only be getting tier 4s. Even if I get A+ on one of the things, I will still only be getting tier 4s because I'm not at 500.
Loot now to incentivize you to grind for the new stuff. So you're going to do that. Then in the
Hi, Aqua. Thank you for the
major
cookie
update, which comes out 3 months after the Edge of Fate launches, which is halfway through the season of Reclamation. God, it's so confusing. You'll then get a soft power cap increase to 550. So you'll be able to grind a little bit more power in the second half of it all, which will be, again, more opportunity for you to then be at...
I think it means you can get to 500 without it. What do you mean? No, because what he's saying is like once this, so when this new thing starts, like our new season, Reclamation, we can grind up to 450 without stopping. 200 is like our permanent power level, and then we can get to 450 before the season half. And then after that, we can get to 500 and then 550. But if I'm playing in the first half of the season and I want tier 5s and I grind out an A+ whatever for a tier 5 to drop, because I'm not 500, I will not get that tier 5 drop. I'll be getting tier 4. Yes, but no, Vex, what I'm saying is, where is it? What are we at right now? 1606? Hang on. Plat starts at 400. Okay. Right? So now if I get an A+ at 400, we don't know, because we don't know if this is for demonstration use only. We have no idea if this is true. This is just what, like, the easiest way that they could like visualize what Bungie was telling them. We have no fucking idea if doing anything at below 500 power will get us tier 5s. Doing your GMs, you'll get a tier 5. He said that in the last video. Oh, okay. Well, then I guess this doesn't matter too much, but like, what if I don't want to do GMs? What if I want to do solo stuff? You know what I mean?
Then
like, what if you aren't on? What if fucking Darian isn't on? What if Donnie isn't on, you know?
Be able to start getting their tier 5s once they're at 400.
Being here for a bit, just been playing,
and all of the new
playing with hubs. No worries. I appreciate you lurking, Aqua.
And all that stuff.
Always
that
thankful.
Is gonna get a bonus for the fact that it's new. You get like a small like damage at the power that you need to be at in order to grind for your new loot, which is your tier 5s as well. So you kind of want both new stuff and new stuff at tier 5, and all that's gonna happen while you're also...
When you get to 500, that means you'll get tier 5s no matter what? No, I don't think that's what it's saying. I think you still have to get tier 5. I think you still have to be at 500, but still get A plus in whatever you're doing to get tier 5s.
Leveling up your seasonal artifact, and that's giving you a kind of flavor of the season. But
I think.
then when Season of the Lawless begins, suddenly you're going to be back to 200 power because your seasonal power is going to go away. You're going to be
You have to
back
get them.
the
Yeah,
start
that's
of
what
your
I'm saying.
artifact
Yeah.
because there's going to be a new artifact, and you're going to be back to grinding for new loot in the new expansion because that stuff will then have the plus whatever it is 10% damage bonus, and the old stuff will no longer have that. And so you'll psychologically sort of be like, well, my stuff's not the new shiny stuff anymore, and it's objectively got a power diff compared to the new stuff.
No worries,
So I want the
Awkward.
new
Go
stuff,
on.
right? So that's
Thank you
kind
for
of the
lurking.
proposition of how this is all going to work. And my question is just, is it going to be fun?
Diamond
is it
Stress
gonna
at
be
500,
fun
yeah.
to do that? Is it going to be fun to basically
So you get
feel
two
like
fives
you are
right away,
getting
yeah.
reset each season? Because Destiny, in a big way, is about the continuity, right? But it's also about the grind in the moment. And if there's no grind ever, then that's kind of boring. But at the same time, you don't want too much grind, and you want the stuff from the past to still feel valuable. And that's a difficult balance to find. And I'm really unsure, more or less, if this proposed system is going to achieve that balance. It's just sort of difficult to say, but I can see a lot of worlds where people are mad once Season of the Lawless starts, the stuff that they've grinded for here, and they were getting to 550 to get their tier 5s, suddenly it's the new stuff that has the buff, not the old stuff. Like, I can see that being problematic for people, and as much as I think in theory, on paper, it looks like a really smart solution, we're going to have to wait and see in practice. And this also brings me to the sort of like post-edge clarity that I think that the community is going to get, which is that once Season of the Lawless starts, and once we start getting further in, and we start seeing what the new gear sets are looking like, and also, for example, we start seeing how we're going to earn old armor sets, because those will no longer be the current armor set, so they'll have to go into some other kind of earnable pool. Like, that I think is going to be very interesting as well. It's almost too early to evaluate now exactly whether or not this system is going to cause loads of much bigger problems down the line, but I'm waiting with bated breath to see how that stuff ends up, because it could be completely fine, or it could be really, really awkward, and also could make people feel like their grind this next season is totally worthless and totally pointless to have done if they could just as easily play with the previous season's stuff and get it all infinitely more easily if there's some kind of crazy catch-up mechanic when we get our post-edge clarity. We'll see. So that's the meta stuff, right? That's the macro. Let's talk a little bit micro now about Kepler specifically. So new location, new story, lots of cool stuff there, as I talked about a lot in my positives video, so make sure you've watched that if you haven't already. But for some stuff that I wasn't so keen on, first of all, they've got world tiers in the location now, and I think that's like, it's good. Like, I'm not mad about that, but it didn't really feel like I should care. Like, when I'm out and about in the world, just exploring in Destiny, there haven't really been a huge number of situations where I've been like, I want this to be harder and I want to spend more time fighting these enemies as opposed to being in an activity. So I don't really know if I care about the world tiers stuff. A feature's a feature. I'm not gonna sort of complain that it's there, but I feel like it could maybe do with a little bit of pizzazz. Like, give me a reason to want to turn that up. As of yet, I haven't seen that, but it's early days. And a note I should also mention here, and I would like this
I wonder if he used the other whiteboard for this. I don't think he scripts any of this. I think he just yaps.
to be applied to all of the content I'm making for Edge of Fate is that I only saw a snapshot of the game, right? So like, especially some of this next stuff that I'm about to talk about, I don't really know if that's going to be the exact feel for it all once we all play it in linear order at release. There's stuff that they're changing, like it was in development, obviously. There's stuff that has already been fixed, like bugs that I encountered that are already fixed, and I just wasn't playing on a recent enough build to have seen the fixes. And there's also stuff which is maybe going to be caused, like problems that are going to be caused by the fact that I didn't play the whole expansion in order. I jumped around here and there to like very weird, disparate parts of the story, for example, because that's what we were allowed to play. Like, they teleported us around to different missions that were not the order of the missions that we'd normally experience. Like, there's lots of stuff like that. So all of the stuff that I'm about to get into could be a non-issue when the game comes out, or rather when the expansion comes out, just to be absolutely clear about that. But I'm still giving my feedback based on what I played. So, in Kepler, you get all these location abilities, right? You get Matter Spark, you get the Relocator Cannon, you get the green thingy, which lets you move stuff around, like Matter Realignment, and you get the Rosetta.
He doesn't know the story isn't linear this time. There is no order. I think there is an order. Excuse me. I think there is an order, but I think from who was I watching yesterday that explained it? Was it Dado or it was Dado or Benny? They were explaining that like there's like main story missions, but then there's like subplots that you kind of jump around to and it all kind of culminates in like the next mission sort of thing. I think those aren't linear. I think the main story missions are.
Like
I think there is an order.
situation,
It's just
and at face value,
looser than it normally
very
is.
cool, right? The idea of giving the player new moves, basically, that they can do. It's essentially just giving you 4 extra buttons on your controller to be able to press at
Oh God, what?
specific times. Almost like getting
Adventures are coming back again? Yeah, basically. I'm pretty sure that's how Benny explained it. I think. So we'll see.
a portal gun in Portal and then realizing the portal gun can shoot other colors and the portal gun can affect specific surfaces and it can pick up certain things and like blah blah blah, right? All of those verbs, as you might describe it for a sort of game development purpose, those new verbs that the player has access to in a sandbox like Destiny sounds incredible at face value. But for me, I didn't really love most of the execution of those Kepler abilities. And I want to be very clear about this. There were some instances where I was like, huh, that's really cool. Like, I think that is a really cool little puzzle that they've set up where I need to think about this in a smart way and be like, oh, if I teleport here with the relocator, then that gives me enough time in the Matter Spark to do this, and then I can go here and do that. Like, there were a few moments like that. The problem that I mainly have was that they were very, very minuscule in their number compared to the vast majority of the puzzles that I experienced where they were just dull. And I've written looking for things here because that is what it felt like a large number of the puzzles ended up being. I would go into my Matter Spark form, the little ball, and I would then basically roll around looking for a hole to sort of enter so I can then zap a thing. And I was just looking for a vent. And like, is that fun? Not really. And could it have been fun? I think so. Like, I think a more tightly designed sandbox would have really used those in ways that I felt like were challenging me in the fun ways, right? And instead, I kind of got a lot of looking. Granted.
I think he got a lot of looking in here because they didn't explain to him how the whole Matter Spark thing works. Like, right here in this clip, right? I've seen enough of the playtime to understand what he needs to do here. Like enough of the trailers and shit.
Could it have been fun?
You're supposed to drop down here, sit next to this thing and charge it.
I think
but he's not doing it. He's trying to look for somewhere to go. And I think that's what he's talking about. That's why he used this clip here.
Designed sandbox would have really used those in ways that I felt like were challenging me in the fun ways, right? And instead, I kind of got a lot of looking. Granted, might be because I played stuff out of order, might be because I played a weird selection of the things, might not be a problem in the final thing at all. But having played through the final shape and just some of the very small little sprinkles of things that they did in final shape, I was like, okay, I see that they're going in a specific direction here with the way that they're putting these puzzles in the world. I'd like to see them elaborate on that. And then when I saw the trailer stuff for Kepler, I was like, damn, this looks perfect. Like, that's exactly what I want. But I just think the execution didn't feel as cohesive with all of the puzzling as I maybe would have liked. Way too much looking for things. That sort of relates to puzzle depth as well. There were sort of several instances where I was approaching a puzzle and I was thinking, oh, this could be really interesting. And then the solution was just to like do something that was kind of boring. Like I could just like hop over a wall in my Matter Spark ball and then just be done with it instead of having to like smartly solve the issue, which again is partly related to playing everything out of order. Part of it is this
so hot, yeah. If it makes you actually no, that's gonna make you angry. It's 18 here right now, so it's like Perfect weather.
That we're going to get to in the story. But yeah, it was just like something that I found myself wishing there was more in-depth stuff around Kepler, because there's a lot of mysteries and some of them were very cool. Like I found one or two that I was like, damn, that was nice. Like I saw a little thing here and I was like, oh, I wonder how I get there. And then I had to kind of big brain my way through it. And I was like, oh, if I thread this relocator and I bounce it, like that was cool. It's just that so many of them were just kind of too simplistic or too much just like, can I find a thing? Yay. And I think Bungie can do better than that. Now, this really does relate to a lot of the story stuff, but seeing as I've got the
I got you, Vex.
here, I want to just quickly touch on that. We got these Vex balls.
I'm probably gonna end stream when I'm done this video.
Fallen Corsairs.
No gaming today, but that's okay.
They were just there. The Fallen with the like green pikes, they're just there. They're just enemies. I don't know if I'm unique in this, but I just didn't really feel like they were particularly interesting. They didn't provoke new gameplay styles in me. They didn't make me have to think on my feet. They were just there. And maybe that's enough, to be honest. Like I like I can't remember their name right now. The enemies that we got in Final Shape, all of those dudes.
The Dread.
Like the Subjugators and the Tormentors and like all that stuff. I thought those were really cool. As much as I kind of hate them because they're annoying, at the same time, to be annoyed is to be motivated. You know what I mean? Whereas these guys weren't really
just standing there, yeah.
Just like flesh that I was
But
just...
that's the thing that's what he went over earlier with the whole world tiers thing. Once you've upgraded the world to tier 4, shit is going to be just harder to kill. I hope it's not on the level of like Neomuna, because like I just don't like being on Neomuna because it's just annoying. I want to go there, get my shit done, and fuck off. But you know what I mean?
Laying into, you know? Well, I guess the Vex ones weren't. You know what I mean. So yeah. Some stuff to shoot. I mean, could they have been more interesting? I think so. Do they need to
I show you
be?
something?
Probably
Yeah,
not.
go for it. Oh.
Like, I'm fine with the enemy sandbox right now in Destiny, personally. So, I don't know. Give me a droidica.
Hey, that's wicked. Like, actually. First encounter of prophecy says use glaive. First art to now. Much better. The skin tones are nicer. Your edge lighting properly. No, that looks really good, Faye. Holy shit. Fucking right. That looks awesome. Proud of you. I hope you're proud of yourself too. That's big.
No, don't do that. Don't get any ideas. Don't do it, Bungie. I was joking, saying give me a droidica and renegades, and then we'll have our slightly more thought-provoking enemies. But yeah, no, absolutely not. But yeah, I just thought that they were whatever.
My shading is so much better since I started. Shading's tough too. It's not like easy to do. So yes,
now,
very much.
A quick counterpoint to that actually though is the Aeonians as a friendly group of humans. Really cool. Really like that. More on the Aeonians in my positives video. Okay, so let's talk story. I think the story's in a pretty good place. It's a new saga, and there are a lot of people that think that Destiny's story is over, or they think that they've missed too much of the story to get into it. And so I've written new saga as a problem here, purely because they need to convey to people that they can jump into this story now and not feel like they've missed 10 years of storytelling. They need to do that. And I don't think they've done that successfully yet. Granted, the marketing has not fully spun up. There's more to come, no doubt. There's trailers, there's this, there's that. But Bungie really needs to convince planet Earth, that the people jumping into Destiny now are effectively jumping into Destiny 3. Like, that is the goal, really, that they have. Is like, we're setting up the next 10 years, right? And it's going to be a new story, and there's all this armor stuff so that you can get all this new armor, and that's going to be really good armor, and you're not going to be behind. And like, they need to convey that to people. Not seeing it just yet. The story itself, though, being a new saga, is a good thing. So that's kind of a funky one to be putting as a negative. But you understand my point. Now, level design-wise, in the story, sort of similar to what I was saying about Kepler overall, I wasn't blown away by the level design. I thought there was some completely fine stuff in there. But there were also several moments where I was like, ooh, this is designed this way? Like, you're educating me on using the relocator cannon in this way, where it kind of doesn't actually tell me that that's what I need to do. Similarly, there were quite a lot of moments where I'd get to the end of a character talking and I'd need to suddenly do a new thing, but it was never conveyed to me that I needed to do that thing. Like, some of the connective tissue was just a bit weak, weirdly, in the level design. And then the non-linearity thing here is interesting as well. I mentioned I would come back to this. Bungie has the challenge to face with the Edge of Fate that they want to experiment with stories that are less linear and that are therefore more interesting, right? Because they're new. It's a fresh take on what a Destiny story could be. And that's something that I 1,000,000% am very, very positive about. Like, I want them to experiment. I want that to happen. The problem is, Destiny is such an expansive sandbox that you introduce non-linearity, and it means that some of these really crazy puzzles that you've designed to be absolutely perfectly tuned with a certain set of abilities suddenly get totally rolled over when you've got an ability that's now one level higher than you'd expect it to be when you're at that point in the story. And so the puzzle becomes no fun because you just solve it instantly and you're like, what the hell was that? Like, why did it ask me to do that? You don't know that you just missed something that was like really tuned to be a certain way. This happened a lot in the exploration in Kepler. I suspect it will happen a lot less in the story specifically, but again, the story's not linear, so you're going to get stuff at different times. So it is something that they're going to need to be acutely aware of. And I personally also, and this is very much a personal opinion, but I find it really annoying in games when I am exploring the world and I do a lot of work to solve a puzzle, and then I kind of have the realization, oh, they're just meaning for me to unlock an ability later, so I have to come back here. Like, I find that really annoying because if I see a thing, I think I should be able to solve that thing. Even if it's harder for me to do so, I think I should be able to solve that thing then. I shouldn't constantly have a load of things shown to me.
I agree with
him
on
this,
to
be
like, big time.
You have to retread your steps later, bucko. Like, I find that annoying. Again, this might just be me, but there is so much of that in the Edge of Fate. So much where you're like, oh, I did all this work to get to this chest. And then I get there and it says, you need a better understanding of an alien language. And I'm like, my Rosetta level is too low. And now I want to jump off this cliff and not respawn. Like, I don't like that stuff. And that is very much the
X-Define is offline now? Yeah, I guess, right.
Is we're going to show you a ton of stuff and we're going to tell you that stuff is there because it says mystery on the side of your screen. We're going to tell you that stuff's there, but you are going to have to know when you should come back to it based on if it says your understanding of the alien language is too bad, then yeah, okay, you need your Rosetta level up and then you should come back. Like, I don't think it's fun.
Jesus.
I don't think it's fun. I think Bungie's approach and philosophy is it's fun to be able to choose the order you do things in, which I kind of get, but that is a type of ordering that I don't like. So yeah, the non-linearity thing, it's a little funky. Maybe other people will like that, and maybe I'm just an impatient troll. Don't know, but certainly for the way I play games, it's a pain point. I also want to talk about experimentation in general here, because I think Bungie have experimented a little bit in the form of storytelling for their story. I don't think they've done a huge amount of experimentation, though. Like, it feels almost a little bit, just a touch, like the Shadowkeep campaign, where in the Shadowkeep campaign, you have a handful of nightmares that you need to hunt, and you can hunt them in any order, right? Similarly, we've got that sort of thing happening.
Emotional damage!
Things that you need to do. I'm going to be very vague here because I don't want to spoil
My body is the audio.
Some of those things can happen in alternate orders, but ultimately you're sort of heading towards the same this. You know what I mean? And so I think they've taken a step, but I worry a bit that because the Destiny, this isn't Bungie's fault, but because the Destiny community is so opinionated, right? I think if Bungie really leaned in and they made a type of game that was super different, like they made a story where it felt like a detective thriller, right? Like if they did that, I think people would yell at them for it not being Destiny. But then equally,
2 weeks of throwing up, Aqua, you need to go see a doctor.
Again and again, I think people yell
That's
at them
not good.
for always making the same story or the same campaign or the same structure or whatever, the same missions, the same levels. And I don't know how they're going to get around that. Because what I want them to do is I want there to be an expansion where the story is a fishing simulator or something. Like, I want them to be weird. I think it would be so cool to get different snapshots of, like, Bungie's take on a story told through the medium of sparrow racing, like, or Bungie's attempt at space combat as a story. Like, I want them to play with all these different
The American healthcare
possibilities
system? Yes,
in
even
terms of
with the
both
American healthcare
gameplay
system.
and then in terms of the storytelling that would be entwined within that. But I worry a bit that the community is just going to shout at Bungie no matter what they do. And so I think that they've taken a step in the Edge of Fate to be a little bit more interesting. But my fear is that they've had to actually rein it in because they've been a little worried that if they go too far off the rails,
You gotta go
into
see
really
someone,
interesting
Aqua. Throwing up for
territory,
2 weeks
then
straight is
they'll just
not
get
good.
screamed off the internet.
Something's wrong.
I don't know. That's just a theory. No dev has said that to me. This is just my headcanon at this point. But I want to see them. I want to see them really blow the doors off. You know, like I want to see them mess about. And right
Survive,
now,
but not go to the
got a
doctor for
little
real.
dabble, but I think that they could go several steps further down that path, and the game would actually be a lot better for it because it's the identity of the difference that they were seeking.
Aqua, being a couple $1,000s in debt is better than being dead. Just saying.
Would be more refined at that point. I think that is maybe the most concise way that I can put it. It's a step right now, like I said in my other video, but I want them to take a leap. But again, my opinion, don't crucify me. Now, while we're on this side of the screen, I have to say, PvP was funky because we didn't really get to play it too much. But as far as I'm concerned, Destiny can never be a 10 out of 10 game. It can never be an elite game if the anti-cheat situation just
Sucks.
is unresolved forever.
Yeah.
And it seems like right now, when I talk to someone
Text
like,
my number.
like
I don't have
Dolly,
your
and
number,
she's like, oh
Aqua.
yeah, someone spawned into my game the other day, and they were driving
And also,
around in
it
trials
costs me money to text people in the US, so I technically can't.
as a tank or like something like that. Like that's not a specific example. That's just like stuff that I've heard people say, like people spawning in as like mini guardians.
I sent you it
and,
when?
getting guns that aren't even meant to be in trials into trials and like all sorts of silly stuff like that. Like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean?
The last
And
message, did
so
you?
one of the things that I didn't like about the early access event was that they didn't comment on that at all.
Oh.
There's no like where
I didn't see the part that was grayed out. I'm gonna be real.
working on it. It was just sort of focus elsewhere, which is sort of fine for me because my focus is elsewhere. But at the same time, I also just went on a trip with Rainbow Six Siege and went to Brazil, got to check out one of the tournaments that they were hosting there. And they've got this big anti-cheat update where they've got multiple anti-cheats in the game now, and they can switch between them at any time. So all the cheat manufacturers are going to have their cheats basically hotfixed out of the game very quickly because they're going to be constantly changing the way that the anti-cheat works.
I see it,
And,
Aqua.
like, it
Don't
sounds
worry,
like a
you're
miracle
fine.
cure for cheating or for anti-cheat. And meanwhile, Bungie's just sort of like leaving it, you know? And like, it's the same with just like overall, whether it's anti-toxicity stuff or whatever.
R6 fixing anti-cheat after 10 years. Shocker. Yeah, dude, the way they explained it is actually kind of super cool. So how it's going to work is anytime there's like an update for any of the main like major cheat publishers for the game, they're going to be able to press a button and it's going to change all of the anti-cheat code completely by itself. And it's going to completely fuck any of the cheats that you had on that previous patch.
Whatever. I feel like Bungie has a unique issue here, which they have not yet solved.
Bungie
And I
doesn't fix
kind of get it
anti-cheat, they just
because
sue the
community
makers and make
moderation
them
stuff
take
like
it
that's, like, a
down.
very
Yeah,
expensive
that
thing to
doesn't
sort
work.
out. But
So
I kind of feel like that needs to be on the radar at least. Like they need to at least be acknowledging it, maybe. So yeah, would have been nice to see a little bit more PvP love, perhaps. Now, another thing that I'm a little worried about is the state and nature of Marathon and its relation to Destiny. Because at the end of the day, Bungie doesn't have infinite budget. Bungie is a company that, hypothetically, if all their cards fell over, could go bankrupt. And I don't like the prospect of embarking on a 10-year
marathon.
next chapter of Destiny when there is something in the room that could kill Bungie. And I say that not to be like hyperbolic, like, oh my god, red alert, panic, panic, panic. I'm just saying that because when you are a content creator, let's put it from my business perspective. This is going to be maybe an easy way to convey the point I'm trying to make. When you're a content creator and I have a business making content, right? And I have employees on my payroll, basically, that rely on me to keep doing what I do. I have a responsibility to make sure that what I'm doing has some legs, right? Like it's going somewhere. And that means, as part of my risk assessment, if I was like fully over-indexed on one platform, like YouTube only, then hypothetically, if something happened and YouTube disappeared just out of nowhere, maybe there was a big lawsuit problem, maybe the site gets hacked, maybe my channel gets deleted, who knows, right? Then if
They
I'm
technically do
all
have
of my
infinite
eggs in one
budget.
basket-
I mean, they do and they don't, right? Because like Bungie was bought for 3.6 billion or something like that, and like how much of that money is going towards the games, and excuse me, how much is that going towards Pete Parsons' car collection? You know,
I'm a little bit screwed, right? So I would be looking at that being like, that's an existential risk that I need to be prepared for the sake of my business and for my employees who rely on me. Similarly, with something like game selection, if you're just like one game and you're putting all your focus into that, and there's some little potential risk that that game could just disappear tomorrow,
all cars,
then obviously,
vroom, vroom.
it would be pretty irresponsible.
Yeah,
to
all
continue
3.6 billion
putting
went
all your
to
eggs
Pete
in that
Parsons'
basket,
garage.
right? You'd actually need to be thinking about, maybe I should diversify elsewhere, maybe I should be doing something else, maybe I should over-index on this and less, etc. And I think Bungie's going to be fine, and I think Marathon's going to be fine, and I enjoyed my time with Marathon, but the sentiment around it right now is so bad, like painfully bad, that I think it would be reassuring as a content creator with a business, and also as a fan of Destiny who wants to play Destiny for the next 10 years, let alone make content on it. I think it would be reassuring to just know that Bungie is going to be fine.
I wish it to you.
even
Okay,
if
sounds good, Aqua.
Marathon
Thank
goes
you.
Nowhere. And it's an impossible one because
Added another floor to the garage, make it look like the expensive one from GTA 5.
Bungie
Would not
really
surprise
can't say
me.
that, because then it would sound like they're saying, yeah, when Marathon dies, we'll be okay. Like, they can't,
I got it. Summarized. Game still buns. Well, this is the everything he hated for the Edge of Fate thing. You missed the entire video of him talking about all the good stuff. The goat. Yes, feet man, otherwise known as
they
Sorlin.
just can't do that. That's obvious, right? But I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, the sentiment is really bad, and it's very hard to launch games
Refer
these
to
days in this current
comment.
market. It's very difficult. So it's not exaggerative to say that Marathon might not be financially successful, right?
Listen, man, you can say game still buns all you want. You're still gonna play it.
That's just the nature of the industry. And
I'll see you on
all
the Edge
I
of Fate.
would appreciate is to know that in that
Oh, you
scenario,
piece of shit. Who just did that?
Destiny's gonna be okay. I'm a little worried right now that Destiny might actually
Asshole.
really suffer a bit if Marathon
Pin up fucker.
didn't financially succeed.
You can be
And that's
pissed
the
at me
thing,
all you
moment,
want.
right?
You know I'm
So,
right.
As much as
He
I
fucked up.
really want Marathon to be good, and I enjoyed my time with Marathon, like I said, and I will be playing it on launch. And
I can't let you in. My
games,
dogs are out right now.
And simultaneously, as much as I'm critical of the friggin' plagiarism thing,
I
which
don't
is
have any
insane,
socks
which I'm doing
on.
a separate whiteboard video on after all of these, once my voice is recovered, I'm a little worried about it right now. Just a little bit. So moving on from that, quality of life. This one is one that we
I hate
already
being
knew
barefoot.
going into
I don't
the
hate it
Fate,
because if I'm in my
preview
room and
event
I'm on my
they weren't gonna
carpet,
be increasing
but if
our
I'm
space,
like
they
headed
announced that on
downstairs, I
Twitter.
have fucking slides
we
that I
also
put
knew
on.
that there weren't any crazy new loot management
Socks is my
systems or
comfy
anything like
place.
that.
That's fair.
And as much as that's fine, I think it kind of goes back to actually this. I mean, maybe we should start here with the fixing the new player user
Any
experience.
shoes in the
man.
house?
I feel like
That's just
they're
weird.
making some good
They're like
steps,
they're not really
you know,
shoe. Well, I don't know
towards
if I'd call them
make-
shoes. They're fucking they're Lacoste fucking slides, dude.
making the introduction to and general playing of the game easier for more casual players, right? That's good, but it's still crazy complicated. And one of the problems is that the in-game education for how to interact
Nasty,
with
dusty
all these
home.
systems
Shake my head. What the fuck are you
sucks.
talking about? You know, you have a problem with my fucking Lacoste slides?
And I say that with love. It's just that as I said before, if you need to get to a specific
That's how much people
outcome
like the
of,
Thurs. Yeah,
trying
like
to make something
himself.
happen, you have to step out of game.
Bro can't look down without getting horny. Only wear socks when it's cold. Frigid out. That's fair.
For it. Similarly, the reason I bring up the quality of life stuff, if you're trying to like manage your vault, you've just got to go to dim. You just have to. If you're trying to do loot management stuff and like if there's a specific weapon that you're trying to grind for and it's got like specific perk rolls and you really want that particular one, imagine how insanely useful it would be if you could select that, you could mark that in the game somehow, and then when it appeared, you either had it auto locked or it had like a special border around it so you could recognize it really fast, like all those sorts of things, just things to make it so that you could deal with the loot.
Make our vault play like EFC inventory. Out SMG the long way, dude.
In the game better, because like right
That would
now,
be
so much of the
terrible.
game is
Like
just
actually
scrapping
terrible.
stuff constantly, and to have a system
New
where
season, all your
you
stuff's
could
gone.
do that, A, more confidently, B, in game without having to use external sources, and C, in a way that felt optimized and didn't take loads of time. I mean, that would be great, and it's just not there. So anyway, it's sort of a side point, which is that so
That's good.
much of the game
Snipers
is
are
still
snipers
so
are good right now though. They're not good for like boss damage, but like Whisper is. And actually, I take that back. So is Supremacy. Supremacy is still great for boss thieves, specifically.
complex, which is fine. I'm okay with complexity. I'm just
But
not
boy,
okay with
Milo, what's going on,
nonsense.
Hurricane?
And it feels like right now there is still a lot of nonsense in the game, making it hard to understand why things happen a certain way or where certain
Time to
things
go
are,
back and
or
grind another
what gets
Supremacy.
you what,
Are you ready,
or,
chat? Well, that's the thing. So like none of the stuff that's before Edge of Fate will be getting the tier system. None of it. So anything that comes after will be getting the tier system. Nothing that's in old raids, old dungeons, yeah, it sucks, but like whatever.
Also, I mean,
You
all
know?
sorts of things. There's tons of it. And as much as the Edge of Fate,
Thank
and
God, because
that
I do not want to
season
grind out
taking
another
steps
Supremacy.
in a good direction, I'd like to see some really.
Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about that, eventually there might come out a sniper that is just another 140 that I can get in tier 5 that has the same or better perks later on. So yeah, honestly, we probably will be doing that grind again at some point.
Revolutionary steps to say, okay, new players, we know that you don't know what the hell's going on, rather than just throwing you arbitrarily into
No point in getting another one? No, not really. Not right now, at least.
solo ops, and never educating you, by the way, in the portal, because ultimately the portal's just going to get people shooting and clicking heads. It's not going to teach them any of the other crap that they need to do, right? The portal doesn't solve the loot management issues. That's something that needs better education. It needs to be better communicated, and this is not the update for that, unfortunately, despite the fact that they need to get new players in. Like, there's a little bit of a disconnect there, I think. And it's another rock and a hard place, to be honest, for Bungie, because the fundamentals that they are fixing here, like people not knowing what to do, are kind of boring to talk about. Like, when you're trying to sell your swanky new expansion, do you really want to be sitting there and going, so we've introduced a new way for you to read the main menu? Who cares, right?
He says that. It is cool that they finally brought that fucking shit back in like in this update. Like we're getting on our weapons now, at least I don't know if it's on armor 2, but on our weapons now, like we can click a button, it'll tell you what all of your perks do now, which should have been a thing from the get-go. But pretzel bread, PB&J, dude, that would be fire actually.
That's not saucy. That's not something that you're like, oh, I need that now. Especially if you're a returning player. Like, the new players need to be the ones that that's communicated to, whereas the returning players need to have all the cool new stuff sort of surface to them. I feel like right now there's just like a little bit of a, I don't know, we're in like a waiting period where we haven't really seen Bungie do that yet. And
there's new players
to happen soon, because the
not this
expansion
second
doesn't come out in that much time. It's pretty soon now. And I feel like just in terms of communicating that, and then also appropriately dressing up these fundamentals to new players, even just letting them know that there's this new story and stuff. Like, I think that Bungie,
and that's the thing too, when this expansion launches on his third account, doing everything not blind, He's a phony. What do you mean his third account and everything not blind? What are you talking about? That's the thing. When this expansion launches on the 15th of next month, we have 3 days before the raid race. That's it. 3 days for us to figure out the new weapon system, the new armor system, to get up to light. Like, we have no time to get ready for this fucking raid race. This hopefully is going to be one of the better raid races. I really hope this doesn't turn into another Ron situation. But oh fuck, man. Oh, there's so much stuff. We have so little time to get ready and so much stuff. It's a Ron? I hope not, dude.
We haven't seen it yet, though. But it's early days, but also there's not a lot of time. So, yeah, it's going to be a close one. So, that's my list of sort of problems and things that I had with the Edge of Fate as I was playing. There's a ton.
How many days before Witness? I think we had a week. Did we not have a week? I'm pretty sure we had a week. Right? I better not be Ron, man. I'll lose it.
Ton more stuff that I could get into, both on the positives and the negatives side. But honestly, these videos have been pretty long, and I don't yet know whether you guys like me yapping about Destiny in this way. Like, this is new for me, right? I've never been to a Bungie capture event before. I've never been put in a position where I've had to sort of give my opinions about this sort of thing. And to be completely frank with you guys, I'm a bit intimidated that you guys are going to watch this video and be like, who's this poser?
Those rates come out 3 days after the expansion comes out. There's only been a few extended times. I don't remember which ones. What? Okay, so the Witness was also 3 days. But that's the thing. That was fine because we didn't have to learn a new armor system or a new stat system. Now we have 3 days to learn a new armor system and a new stat system and try and get decent enough gear that we can run it and not get our ass kicked.
He's not been playing the game.
That's like
very
no
long.
time.
I hate him.
Worse, it's D1 Crota.
So,
It fucking better not be, I swear to God.
I would love to hear from you guys.
D1 Crota beaten an hour and a half. It's like, fucking what?
Like to see from me next in terms of all the early footage and content that I've captured. I've tried my best to approach this in my way and put my twist on things, and also really make it clear that this is just my opinion, my humble opinion as a noob, and also I recognize that your opinions might be completely different to this stuff. Like, I've really wanted to try and make that as clear as possible. Whether or not that's come across, we'll see. But the next thing you're probably wondering overall is like, okay, you've presented these positives and these negatives. So what's the overall verdict, right? Like, do you like it?
Skull loss
and the
and
answer to
Prison
that
of
is an absolute yes.
On
like,
Solar Week.
I've been critical here of various systems.
Just cooked in 0.2
I had a
seconds.
great time playing the Edge of Fate. Despite the fact that I would have liked the puzzles to be a bit deeper, I could probably say that about 99% of the games I've played in my life ever. Like, that's just me. I'm just, like, a nerd. And as much as I didn't like the non-linearity stuff so much because it meant that I...
Isn't the new power grind uncapped now? Sorta. So when the expansion launches, we were able to grind up to 200, which is our permanent power level. We will always start at 200. And then when Ash and Iron launches, we're able to, I'm getting ahead of myself. 200 is permanent, and then we're able to get up to 450. Once Ash and Iron launches, we're able to go from 450 to 550. So there is still a cap. It's just not the same as it has been in the past.
I kept running into these puzzles I couldn't do. Other people might love that. Like, I recognize that that is the case. And also, just because I find a relocated cannon before I can use it, doesn't mean that I'm like, well, I wish I never paid for this. Like, it's not that deep.
I mean, like, limited sources of pinnacles and powerfuls, it's uncapped now. As far as I know, yeah. With the new, like, screen that we're getting to, like, kind of run stuff at harder difficulties to get more stuff to drop that we want, yeah, as far as I know, it's uncapped. There's nothing that's stopping me or you from grinding the fuck out of these things just to get the stuff we need.
Right? It's still good. It's just that I'm feeling like it's not
the unemployed versus the employed day one. Damn right, dude.
Fine. And there's other things here where there are...
Do you see what Sony did to fuck with Microsoft? Microsoft raised the prices on all their consoles, even the old ones. Sony dropped the price. Oh. Dude, Xbox has been dying the last however long, so that's not even surprising.
Potential problems for some parts of the player
Players
base
to book
that
the
are going to
week
be
off,
actually
true.
great for others. So I mentioned that like people are going to miss out on tier 5 loot if they don't get up the power grind, right? And for some people that's going to be a real concern, but that could easily have also gone in my positives video because I like that. I like the fact that some people will never get certain loot. I think that's actually good for the overall health of games.
He's right. I totally agree with him. He's just like that. No, I totally agree with him. He's right. He's correct. I totally agree with him. I 100%. Even there's something that Asdacross brought up in one of his videos a couple of days ago where he's like, what if you could take one of your exotic items and like kind of like in PoE, you can put like a cursed, I forget what they're called. It's like a cursed item in it. It can either buff your thing or destroy it. It's like a chance system. That would be cool. And it's something that only the top players do. I totally agree with him. I think there's certain things that not everyone should have. I totally agree. Let's see how long it lasts, because look at what they did to Trials. Yeah, I still think what they did to Trials is complete bullshit. I still think that's so stupid. I get that why they did it, because people just couldn't fucking get to the lighthouse. Good. Get better at the game or don't go to the lighthouse. I don't know what to tell you. But at the same time, with how their anti-cheat works or doesn't work, I kind of understand why they did that. But
so like, it's a complex one to evaluate so many of these systems and these processes and these changes.
Greenbreaker, do one shot that does 1000% more damage. Drawback, you die. But yeah, no, just something like that. Like I agree with the elitist take that there are things that not everyone should get. I think the top 10% of players should have like, or should be able to get gear that the 90% of players can't get. I agree with that all day.
When I know for a fact that there are multiple opinions which are all differing and yet all true, which relate to each and every one of them. So it's an impossible task to have an objective read, I think, on these things, especially when you have the level of experience that I have, which is not that much. So it makes it even murkier to kind of navigate, but I had a good time. I liked the exotics that I played with. I really like the story direction and the way that they're going with that. I'm very curious to learn more about it because I really have not engaged with a huge amount of the new story stuff so far, but very, very keen on that. Can't wait for raid details. I overall like Kepler. The portal's a good addition, even if there's room for it to improve further.
Taking shader, earn every tier 5 loot for 10 seasons straight. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Like, these are just my critiques to offset my video of glazing that I put out beforehand. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, guys. Any feedback you have about the format?
I agree with him on almost everything that he said in both videos. There's like a couple of things where I'm like, this is not kind of what they were going for, but like realistically, everything he said makes a lot of sense. You see the taken spawn in effect, and it just shits out tier 5 headcrabs. True. I am going to raid into Semi, because I am done for the day, ladies and gentlemen. I got other shit I got to work on. So you guys are gonna go hang out with her. I don't know what she's doing. Probably just grinding out the rest of this season stuff. So go say hi to her. Be nice. Looking at you, Sor. But yeah, guys, thank y'all for coming and watching. I'll be live again tomorrow with more stuff. Maybe we'll actually play a game tomorrow. Who fucking knows? Anyway, see you guys.